Okay.
And then also go into security and set it so people can share their screen.
推下去。
So everyone who's just joining us, please sign up in the chat on your presentation order. Oz, keep an eye on that. And what are we saying? 2 minutes per group?
You said 1 minute.
Last time it was like about 1 minute and 30 seconds was allowed, I think, something
90
like
seconds,
that.
Okay, let's do that. And this time, guys, when you see O's holding the phone up like this to the screen, pay attention to what it's saying, because every time he did it last time, people ignored it. That's also on me because I didn't enforce it, but this time I will. So sorry about that, O's. You did a great job. And so this time,
not at all. Just making sure everyone gets enough time.
So try and do it in 1:30. All right, let me see. Let me also make Peter and O's co-hosts so that you guys are at the top of the window. Let me see. We're getting this down. It's good to see everybody. This is so much better than Saturday too, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah.
So much better.
Definitely.
So yeah, O's, we used to do this on Saturday, like the middle of Saturday. So it'd be like, it's so much better to do it on a weeknight.
I agree.
Anything's better than a Saturday, let me tell you.
You know what's crazy is we did one on a Saturday right when they announced like who won the last election. Like, remember, like on that like noon of that Saturday, that was literally, so when we started the session, like everyone's car horns were honking and stuff. So it was just a fun fact.
All right, so today, guys, you guys are presenting on 4 things. If you followed the homework, the first is a short statement describing the problem you are solving. Please do not read me the ad lib value proposition that I gave you. That's just for you to help formulate it. This should be a very short statement. The market size that you are targeting, so footwear, athletics, healthcare, whatever, mental health, however you want to break it down. Who your competitors are, and this is where you should actually have a graphic, some sort of short, small, either an XY graph, a competitive landscape chart, or even possibly a SWOT of where you fit within the competitive landscape. And then, if we're MVP, we're just talking about that now, but like maybe just saying, hey, here's what I think my MVP could be. And I did say, next session, you will present 4 to 5 slides and describe what you learned in 2 minutes in the homework. I did say 2 minutes.
Peter, we're just going by what you said like 5 minutes ago, not by what you said like last session. So
One time when it's in print, no, this was in print. When it's in print, then you gotta, Anyway,
fair enough.
Yeah.
You're right. Let's do.
So essentially, as each one of you go, we're gonna allow you to share your screen, and I just want you to go quickly give us those 4 things. We'll give a short reaction to it, and then we'll move on to the next one. Okay? So pay attention to where you are in the order. Be prepared to go. We do have a lot of people, not a lot of time, and we want to make sure everyone gets sort of fair treatment and fair timing. Okay?
And this time, like we said, pay attention to O's. O's will be holding up when it hits 1:30, so you know that you have a 30-second countdown from there. Okay? Great.
All right, Finn, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, everybody. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome. I changed my idea a little bit since last time. I was going to do a parkour magazine called Jump Digest, which is really cool, but I realized through research that the market is super small. So I changed my idea a little bit, and I'm going to share my screen here to give you guys my presentation. So I changed my idea to this thing called Get Stoked. Basically, Get Stoked is a street sports magazine that removes the irrelevant kind of clutteredness of one sport and combines an artistic perspective onto multiple street sports to create a magazine that uplifts and brings all extreme sports to the next level. So market size, I'm looking at magazine periodical publishing, which is a $30.2 billion industry, specifically sports magazines. And my target audience would be people who skateboard, scooter, BMX, parkour, and or rollerblade, ages roughly 12 to 35. People interested in extreme sports, interdisciplinary athletes, artists, and action photographers. The business advantage I have is a lighthearted, artistic attitude combined with a grasp on all extreme sports to produce a never before seen angle to commenting on street sports. And because of that, I have a lot of passion for this. I don't necessarily have a lot of experience in all industries, being that BMX, parkour, etc. But there is a lot of opportunity here to grow all extreme sports, legitimize things like parkour, blading, things that don't necessarily have great views of the public. The only threats to this are emergence of competition and a lack of returning interdisciplinary athletes. So moving on here, my minimum viable product would be on a super small scale, social media, create a form of print issue, and then start making merch. And that's my screen.
Very nice, nice and concise, clear, concise. I'm happy that you identified that the market you were targeting was going to be small and that you wanted to expand it a little bit. From an investor standpoint, that would probably be the first thing they would point out. Well, how big is your market? How can you, I mean, once you reach your entire market, how much more can you grow? Is this just a small business? So
Exactly.
It's good that you identified that quickly now and made that pivot. And when you'll hear the word pivot a lot. If you've never heard it before, it means like changing the course of your idea as you're working through the assignments. The only thing I saw that I thought was interesting, and I'm curious to just hear your feedback on it, is under strengths, you wrote that print media is as a new exciting or new and like that's been like for 20 years it's been print is dying, but now it's like print is coming back.
Yes, that's one of the things I noticed in this graph from like IBS World is that there was a steady decline and then over the past 2 years, a slight increase. I guess it's just because people like having something to hold, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree. All right, very nice. Good job. Very clear.
Nice job, Finn. Yeah, my big thing, what did you find out when you were doing your research about the competition and like, how are you creating distinction from them?
I found out that a lot of magazines that have something to do with street sports, they're only about one sport. And so things like Thrasher, Move Mag, Dig BMX, like Stoke magazine is a surfing magazine. And I noticed that those things, they have like not a small audience, but they're only promoting the surfing culture or the BMX culture to the people who do those things. So it like there is a roof on the market basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm also familiar. I'm a big rock climber, and so I always see the rock climbing gyms, which they have in the lobby and stuff like that. So that could be another market that you could target.
Definitely,
because I like that, and usually there's crossover with surfing. I also like surfing, like Rockaway here, and then San Diego in the winter. So I love it. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, and also I like that you had like names right on the tip of your tongue of your competition. I really like that. I noticed.
Cool. And you didn't use your full 2 minutes. We appreciate that.
And we appreciate that. Good job all around. All right, Sean.
On.
All right. So my name is Sean. I'll just give a resurface of what I was doing. My brand is called Artists in the Gym. It's an athletic brand that's kind of more tailored to inclusiveness rather than one kind of aesthetic, to be honest. I'm gonna share my screen. Well, before I start, I have one question. So when I went to go input the homework, I couldn't put it in the folder. So that's why, if you don't see it, that's why. I just couldn't,
All right.
it wasn't fair.
Those folders are sort of a place to keep yourselves organized. So
okay.
Yeah, but thank you. I like that you're checking in on that. And if you ever have that issue, just shoot us an email and we'll get on it. So, but thank you, Sean. And this won't count against your time. We'll start it now.
All right, I'll share my screen. All right.
Got it.
All right. So like I said before, my brand is Artist in the Gym. My statement, Artist in the Gym is a brand that set out to target and promote inclusiveness within the gym community. Instead of the usual typical brand that promotes kind of one catered aesthetic and specific ideal person for the brand, they kind of promote, oh, it's kind of inclusive, everybody should wear it. But when you see their ads and spokesman, it's kind of people of more bigger stature, women with crazy physiques. It's not feeling welcome to the person that's just trying to get started within the gym, or they need that boost and excitement that, you know, like I want to feel that like that person too. But it's like, you know, in this brand, you're your own artist. You make yourself, you express yourself. So that's the type of brand I want to move towards. My market size, as I know that I'm in athletic wear and sportswear, it's vastly moving. Right now, it's worth $320 billion within the sports and athletic wear. So realistically, if I was to do a market size or a market share value, it would be between 30 and 50%, just based on if I was to do 100%, it would kind of make me look like a monopoly, which I'm not trying to be. When I go to my competition, I have a more clear poster. So if we're looking at offline transactions with more affordable, it would be kind of more DSG and Russell Athletic. If we're looking at more of the realistic affordable price range, would be like a $20 like tank top or t-shirt, and then more of a $40 hoodie. As you move down to more of an offline transaction that's more expensive, you look at Nike, Under Armour, Lululemon, Verse, Alpha Elite, those type of things that you can purchase within store. Their kind of theme is more expensive because they have like $70 joggers, you know, $60 shorts, where compared to those other brands, you're still getting kind of the same quality, more for a cheaper price. If we look more towards online, as I looked at my competition, it shows more that Shark for affordable is Gymshark and Raw Gear, and DSG for online. I don't know why I cut it off. For the other thing, let me just go back to that one.
That's 2 minutes, by the way.
Yeah. So what would your MVP be?
My MVP would be developing a survey for understanding what a typical person would like to see in the gym attire, whether that's more affordable, more quality, feel more included within that brand. Step 2 is just kind of be more developing a prototype that's kind of more pleasing to that targeted audience, and see where I go from there.
Okay.
Sean, great job.
I
Quick,
have two things. The first thing is, you said you wanted 30 to 50% of the market, right?
Yeah,
Do you know how much Lululemon has of the sportswear market?
I was looking into it. I couldn't get exact details.
Lululemon has 4.4% of the sportswear market. So
I know Nike's more the bigger dog.
Nike has like 12%. So there's really
Mhm.
no way you're ever going to capture 30 to 50% of the market. And it's like it's one of those things that like, it's like a famous mistake that rookie entrepreneurs make. They're like, it's $1 billion industry. And if we capture 1% of the market, or $100 billion industry, and if we capture 1% of the market, we'll be $1 billion company. So those are like it's a very, totally understandable, but like, you know, if you were able to get a brand that did $1 million in gross revenue annually within 2 years, you would have something someone might invest in.
Mm.
So
Okay.
like, I don't even want, like understanding your market size is important, but like the chances for you to capture a large quantity of it very quickly is very limited, is very unlikely. Now that being said, who knows? Maybe you are a sales and marketing genius and you design the sickest gym wherever, and you just blow your competition out of the water and you become, you know, a $100 billion company within 5 years. But given that my experience in entrepreneurship, and especially in cut and sew, is it takes a lot more work than that. And we're just talking about someone, it takes a little longer, but that's all right. I'm just giving you that as perspective. And then on your competitive details here, you generally want to place where you fit in this. So like where arts in the gym would fit. Affordable online transactions, right? Is what you were sort of thinking. So generally you
Yeah.
want to put yourself up and to the right. So you'd be up there with Gymshark and Raw Gear and DSG, and you'd say, I would be here where everyone else is here, right?
Yeah.
Cool. That's just my quick feedback. I mean, keep working. I believe in this market. I know this market's a great market. I'll turn it over to Carl.
Yeah, great job. So for me, I'm trying to understand the brand and the idea. So you say inclusive, that word is like thrown around a lot. So what I want to understand, how do you create distinction from Lululemon and these other brands that are going body positivity, right? So now we're seeing models and stuff. And my question is it your models and marketing that's inclusive, or is it the shirts are made for people that are short, that are thin, that are overweight? Like, what is it specifically that makes yours different than these companies that are going on the body positivity advertising route and so forth?
Well, when you say that, like we're just seeing brands do that, and it's feeling more so not by choice, but more so by society. My
Yep.
brand is coming out as that, just a brand that's like looking to promote sexuality, of like being expressive, because people come to the gym, they feel as though just because they're, I'm not saying this is like entirely true, but like saying just because they're a female, they don't belong in the gym.
They don't
when
look
that's
like
not the
LeBron
case.
James or
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Tom Brady or whatever. Yeah.
Because I did a scope of all these and see what they really promote on their website and like the type of models they have, and it's literally the same. It's like big bulky guys, or like extremely cut women, and it's literally the same too on all these websites. So it's like that's not what I'm trying to promote. Like I'm trying to promote a realistic like setting. Like you're not gonna walk in the gym always see them.
I love it.
Alright.
So what I'm getting at is it the clothing is designed differently, or is it just the marketing that's different, or both?
It's more the marketing is different. Like
Okay.
obviously the clothing I want to be more graphic and expressive, but
That's
more
what
so
I'm
the
getting at.
marketing.
I also want to hear that as well, right? So in addition to you're targeting different people, I also want to know the clothes is going to be like cool looking and different looking as well.
Yes.
As,
Mm.
otherwise, awesome. Love the
And
idea.
possibly be cut for people that are of different body types. That's the other
Exactly.
big thing. That's actually a huge thing. Anyway, good job. Nike has 10% of the athletic market.
Hey, you're right.
All right.
You were close, Peter. You said 12. So
I know,
you're
I
right.
know.
You're in the
Like,
ballpark.
I found a graph. So Under Armour has like 2. So that's just a perspective. All
There
right.
you go.
Good job. Thank you, Sean.
Good job. Next.
Next up, Battasim, Mia.
Yes, Mia will be sharing our screen.
Oh, I love that you're ready. Good job.
Perfect.
Floor is yours.
Okay, so just to give a quick recap on our brand, Dear Creators, the creatives networking and meetup platform, a social platform that me and Mia are working on. Mia, can you move to the next slide, please?
Yes, I am trying to do that.
Oh, it seems like it's stuck. Okay. The main problem we're trying to solve with our business is the lack of opportunities provided to especially freelance creatives through popular social media platforms such as Instagram or LinkedIn. Dear Creators will be aiming to solve this problem and create change by offering artists and designers a platform that combines the functions of presenting a portfolio, offering and purchasing services, hosting in-person events, and getting access to paid gigs.
So when we were looking at the market, we kind of split this off into 2 different categories, the social networking market and then the general application market. As we all know, social networking is a huge booming industry that started a very long time ago, but now it's become a different beast that we haven't seen before. It's projected to reach in 2022, $42.43 billion. And by 2026, $64.11 billion. And as for applications, in-app purchases are projected to reach $16.62 billion in 2022. And the number of downloads in social networking segment is projected to reach 11.191 million downloads in 2022.
In terms of our market, we did a general comparison to both the main popular ones and the smaller startups. Our main competitor that we have identified through the functions compared is Creatively due to the creative job offer services that they provide. But as you can see from the graph, we are the only service that offers all of the functions that we want to.
We did another graph to just compare our biggest competitors based off of the quality-based safety, individuality, ad presence, and functionality for the creatives. We just wanted to have another visual to be able to see our competitors a little bit easier.
And super quickly, our roadmap to our MVP is through keeping our community alive and conducting surveys and testing our Figma mockup through them.
Very nice. The only thing that I would talk about, since I know a little background on what you guys are working on, is that you've already successfully hosted and built some of these networks. So I know that like we're looking at this sort of as a ground up, but since you already have 400 people that were using the service you already created for headshots and photography, that should be also just brought into when you talk about market research. Our market research showed that when we went out and did these photograph meetups, that we saw this interest out of this 400 people that we worked with, right? Because you actually have some proof of concept already.
Okay. Thank you.
Great job. So can you go back to your competitive matrix slide? I thought it was interesting because you had like a couple of companies that were to the right and up. So I just want to.
Oh, the one below,
the one,
I think.
the grid. Yeah, that one.
Yes.
So like usually like on these where your eye is drawn is to the top right, and yours is like on the right side, but to the left side of it, I guess implying that it's more expensive. And then
yeah, it's not for free.
Wait, what's that?
It's not for free. So the ones on the very right are the ones that are completely free. Meanwhile,
Okay.
ours would be subscription based.
What are these two that are on the right? Because that's where my brain goes when I see this chart, is it makes me curious about these two. Like why, in other words.
Behance is the #1 portfolio.
Behance. Okay, I know Behance. I guess I've never seen that as an app. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we use it in the center. And then, so these ones, what I'd focus on is why would I pay for yours instead of use things like Behance, or what's the C one?
It's
The C one is Creatively.
Creatively. Like, what's your biggest pitch for why you would pay for yours over these like two?
Because we have some additional functions that they do not have,
Another
like event hosting or getting paid directly through the app.
It Creatively is more for like long-term jobs. Like people can find an entire like full-time role there, and it's a lot less directed towards freelancers. And
but also when we did the entire market research and downloaded the app, we saw that there was only 10 jobs listed on there in the entire US. So
well, see, you guys came prepared. I like it. So that's exactly the kind of stuff that you're going to be asked during the pitch. So great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, who's next?
I think I'm next.
Great.
Yes. So, hello everyone. My partner is not here today. He'll come in the next session. So, just to recap, our value proposition was to create and sell customizable location-based triggers, which was in an app, and this was mainly so that nobody misses their stop or the destination is close by. Plus, you can share your travel plans with others. So we did some research on our competitors, and what we noticed is that there were mainly 3 categories in which our competitors were divided, which brings us to the uniqueness of our product, where everyone is in one place. And the other uniqueness is location, because as we checked, the hidden location part was it was a gray area in all of these other apps. And our biggest competitor is actually Google Assistant, which can almost give you everything. But since it is a little messy and there are a lot of steps involved in it, and privacy becomes an issue for people, so that's why it's not as big, but mostly it's the Google Assistant. And And for an MVP, we decided to, sorry, I think I missed one slide. Sorry, yes. So the market analysis was, this is just basic facts that there are 6.6 billion people who have smartphones, and 28% Americans use location-based services. And to test out our app, we chose Manhattan to be the location because there are a lot of sightseeing places, and it's crowded also. And we basically tried to divide our users into residents and tourists. And this is the amount of people in 2021. Which was the latest information that we had. So based on that, for our MVP, we decided to make an application which uses GPS coordinates that would trigger actions based on the location. And our testing area will be very small, which will be in Manhattan. And this is all that we do, like tourist guides, grocery guide, and destination will what we'll be providing.
Very nice. The only thing that gives me pause is when Google is your biggest competitor. There's always this fear with in investing in technology that, like, you know, you want to either build something that one of, you know, Facebook, Google wants to buy from you, Amazon wants to buy from you, but you want to make sure that you're different enough that you have value to them versus something that they can just go and copy and knock you out of the water in a day. So that's just like something to think about how you layer in more value than anything that Google's already built, and designing it so it's really hard for them to just be like, we're going to throw 200 engineers at it for a weekend and knock this company out of the water. You want to build it where you're building some sort of IP or community base that makes them say, hey, look at these guys, we'd rather acquire them than just try to knock them out of the water.
Yes, okay.
Exactly along that line, I guess my question to you is, why do you think this hasn't been created yet?
It has been created. I'm not saying it hasn't, but having all of these in one place is something which wasn't created. We saw it for many apps because this is not a purely tourist app or a resident app. It is something which combines the two.
What I'm
So-
saying is literally, why hasn't this app been created yet? Not why hasn't aspects of it been created yet?
The app has been okay, you're saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Like,
Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to, you get the question supposed to
Yes.
stimulate thought, you know, you're a thoughtful, you know. Why do you think this version that you're proposing is not yet in existence?
Maybe because it offers two different category kind of uses, like the apps that are already there. The apps that are already there, they're either to only cater to the tourists or to the residents, and there might be like Google Assistant did think about combining the two, but not to such a deeper extent, like, without integrating map also into it.
Yeah, I think the next assignment, which is going out and interviewing who your customer base is and understanding, is going to give you guys a lot more insight to see who would use this, how they would use this. You know, don't make assumptions. You got to go get proof that people want it, right?
Yes.
Good
right,
job,
very
though.
nice.
I love the presentations, guys. You came prepared. It's good to see.
Singularity, Hugh, Hui.
Thank you.
Hi, yeah, it's Hui and not Hugh, but don't
Sorry.
worry. I don't really care. Hold on. Is it showing right?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, the Zoom stuff is like all over my screen and I'm trying to get rid of it.
Go to, there you go.
Hi, I'm Hui and I'm trying to make this website called Singularity, and it's also going to be like my company, I guess. It's a ceramics. I guess it's going to start off as a ceramics site to sell like ceramic works. And I'm thinking that I could possibly develop it into other like artistic like mediums if the ceramic works does well. So for the market size, I did some research into like the ceramics market. Currently it's like growing and there's like a big physical and online market for it. And it's used in a variety of things. So unfortunately it's listed as like the market size is listed as 120 billion USD. but most of it comes from construction. So I don't think it's like completely accurate. And new technologies being introduced right now into the ceramics market, like 3D printing, it's getting like pretty developed, and it's something that's like timeless and really easy to collect for most people. For competitors, I think the biggest competitors would be other ceramicists and artists who are selling homewares, and this includes like famous artists, like gallerists who like show their work in galleries. And also another big competitor would be like large corporations that also sell homeware, either in like online stores or physical stores. And this can include like Urban Outfitters and like Wayfair and like Pottery Barn. And then also like cheap factory made ceramics and small physical stores that specialize in homewares. So I think my competitive advantage would be like the concept of my website is that each piece that is going to be sold will only be made by one person, which means that each item will be very uniquely handmade and unique to like that the artist and embody what like the artist believes in and what like their artistic style is. And also because it's only going to be one artist making each item, there's going to be like a limited stock, which will create scarcity. And in my website, I also want to like put more attention on the artist and what they are, how they are as an artist, because I find that like other sites that sell ceramics don't go into like the people that designed it and the people who make it. I think it will really like create this sense of luxury.
That's 2 minutes, by the way, just heads up.
All right,
Thank you.
so just tell us, I have a pretty good understanding of your competition. Just tell us your MVP, what you think you would need to launch this.
I want to like start setting up the website soon and organizing the production schedules with like, I have another friend who wants to sell their stuff on my site. So art, like with ceramics, there's a lot of like production scheduling because you need to fire it and there's a lot of steps. So I kind of want to create like a timeline for us to start on the things, and then setting up a social media to gain like traction and like marketing purposes.
Yeah. I mean, this is a pretty straightforward business model, and like, there's not a lot that I'm gonna nitpick here, except for, like one of my former students, she moved to Nashville, she set up a ceramic studio, she's doing really cool stuff. She does like plates and bowls with like, you know, raccoons eating pizza on it, and like custom plates for like people's dogs. And I love watching her, and she's kind of quirky and complains about things breaking in the mail and her kiln catching on fire, and it's kind of a fun follow. So I think she's kind of building a following on that. So I totally get it. The only thing I want to push back on in some ways is I wouldn't look at people like Crate and Barrel as competitors, but more as competitive or partners. Because if you built something well enough and had enough artists on it, maybe they come to you to source and to meet artists and to find new product. So they could actually be a very good asset to your business. So, and I also, in some ways, I wouldn't look at, you know, other artists as your competitors either. I think, you know, the competition is creating something that you get people to. So the competition is just beating out the noise of the internet to get people to your site, right?
Thank you so much.
Carl?
Good job. Quick branding question. When I hear singularity, I think of when like artificial intelligence meets human consciousness. So how'd you choose your name?
Well, it started from the idea that each like work would be made by one single person. And I think like, especially like as an artist, there's this loneliness when you get when you're making your own work. And I do think like the word singularity kind of like describes like uniqueness to some aspect. I did think about like the technology part.
Okay.
but
Well,
Yeah, we're gonna do a deep dive on branding,
So-
so.
I'm foreshadowing, but you're gonna be able to talk to this next session 3 with Ray, who literally does this for like Apple and Empire State Building. So I'm excited for you guys to have that conversation, but I just want to put that out there that when I think singularity, I think of artificial intelligence, but I love what you just said. I love that story. So I really like that a lot. I might, there might play with some other words to express that, but I think it's awesome. All right.
Right? Dot Design Studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, hi. So yeah, so basically dot design is something which is based on an interior design. And so here we go. So my business statement is to expeditiously help the user to decide their time consuming interior choices through innovation, diversity, collaboration, and layers to glean their finished product while using one single platform. Moving on to the market size. So basically I want to get this established in India, back in my hometown. So this has a huge market, and there's a forecast that in the decade of 2020 to 2030, it is going to have a 14.1% market growth rate as compared to what it was in the previous decade, which was something around 7.5%. And a gross profit margin behind each project is around 35 to 40%. And it is stated that by means that it should be compulsorily or mandatorily around 25%. So yeah, and the market size mainly in India focuses on South and the Western part of India, which is rapidly growing due to the urbanization. And since it is the technology hub, or you can say the IT sector of India. Then moving on to the SWOT analysis. So I'll cut it down short. The main,
Hello?
sorry. Yeah, so the main, Madhura, please can you mute? Yeah, so the main issue is that, not an issue, but the strength, weakness, and opportunity thread. For me, there's this one common factor, which is the upcoming design trends. So not only is the strength and opportunity for me, but at the same time, it is a weakness and threat for me, because developing and updating those designs and constantly facing those continuous price changes due to the economy of the country or the surrounding market is going to be an issue for me. So design trends is going to be a very important factor for me in all the 4 aspects. So the competitor for me are mainly, there's this one huge company which is called Godrej Interiors, which has been in the market for the last 20 years. But recently they have started with their own platform. And there are 3 startups. One is Morph Design, one is the Karigars, and one is Choker Design, which are trying to expand their business through collaboration with social media platforms, and by building their own platform to have an online interior market. Next, this is my MVP. So my MVP is very basic right now. So mainly it is to focus on the user flow, to understand what the user is going to go and how they want to navigate, and have then the features added, to have an information architecture, wireframes, prototype, and last will be the usability testing. So thank you.
For me, I don't have a whole lot of questions. I mean, the concept makes complete sense. And I don't know, I don't know the market well enough. I kind of know a little bit of it here. But I think you're in the next phase of when we go and interview customers, you're going to come back with a lot of feedback to understand really what people are looking for. Because interior design is so subjective, Carl?
Yeah, I think great job. I'm excited to understand like how you're going to start out and then kind of like build your customers. I'm guessing testimonials and website is probably going to be like your MVP, right? So that you actually have like something you can refer people to, and they can see actual testimonials of, I worked with Parisha and it was amazing. You give them a discount and build from there. Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's like basically the testimonial. It won't be like a testimonial site, but the platform is somewhere it is going to have like interior design, they take like 3 to 4 sessions just to finalize what theme or what you want, right?
Okay.
So it is going to cut down to that. So whether they can take an online, through the website, like an application form where they can pre-decide and come like what is available in the market and what can come close down to.
Great. All right. Good job.
Thank you.
Next up, Evoke.
Yes. Persia, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. We're Team Evoke, and last time we touched up that we're doing food waste. So what is currently happening is that 30% of retail food gets thrown away. And this is actually $400 billion lost every year, which I think is crazy. And about 5 billion pounds of food, return goods from retailers are just sent to landfill every year, and it's all completely usable still. So what we want to do is we want to partner with retail stores that have excess food wastage and redirect this waste towards people in need and those willing to pay a lower price for perfectly acceptable food. Now, when we're looking at the competitive landscape, you notice that there's a lot of organizations that are nonprofits, and what they do is they divert a lot of that food to donation centers and even dumpster diving. But what we want to do is we want to be in between, so between a nonprofit and a for-profit, and we also want to hit a higher market because what happens with nonprofits is that they don't have a wide reach because of the constraints on money. And when looking at our target market size, what we want to do is capitalize on the fact that students live on a budget, and they are going to be more so willing to go for produce that's sold at a cheaper price. And in the United States, about 15.9 million people are in colleges and universities. And also 12.8% of the population live in poverty. And out of that, 5.1 million US households have very low food security, mostly because they can't afford to buy the retail prices. And also considering the current landscape that we're in with inflation and the effects of COVID and rising prices. So what our competitive edge is that we want to partner with these companies to give them a quality assurance, because a lot of times people aren't willing to take from companies like this because they're worried about it not being safe, it not being like the right quality. And the second is we want to provide customers obviously with a much reduced retail price. And lastly, is returning a percentage of the product back to the retail stores, because I believe that we have two different customers. One is our customers that we're selling to, and our other customers are the retail stores that we're buying from. And
Just 2 minutes, by the way.
Okay, and minimum
Quickly.
viable product is just surveys, and next step is finding out surveys from both ends.
This is
That's it.
great.
Thank you.
I mean, I said last week, this is a issue that I've always had my eye on for years. Then when I learned about how much food waste and the whole stack it high, watch it fly grocery store theory, that most people won't buy groceries if they don't see a lot of groceries in there. So they purposely buy extras and they know they're going to throw out 30% of what they buy, which is just bonkers to me. The one thing I will say in your target segments, there's been a lot of studies about education of what good food is as well. There's a whole thing in New York City where they tried to give credits to low-income people to buy healthy food, and like very few people took them. So I think there's some case studies to it. There's also what's going on in Europe right now where they won't even let grocery stores throw food away. They have to find another place. France has passed a law, Holland's passed a law, Germany's passed a law. So there is a lot of other case studies, but I mean, I love all of it. And I think you have a very clear direction. And I thought the graphics are really good. So just keep going. And whatever you need, if you ever want to sit down and brainstorm, just like come. I have ideas. I have lots of ideas around this.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I love the enthusiasm, Peter. Yeah, I think it's a great job. I'm really excited to see how it develops, and I'm especially interested in how you have an MVP, so you actually like start getting your feet on the ground and start like actually like. I'm really excited to see how it goes. So good job.
Thank you so much.
All right, who's up next? Is it
Kay Zhang and
Yeah.
Yes,
did I say
yes.
that right?
Share my screen. Sorry.
all right?
Can you all see the screen?
Yep, we can see it. And thank you, Oz, for coming in at 2 minutes. It helps us keep on track.
Cool.
Yeah.
So our ideas is very product-based, product-centered. And basically, our product is for urban residents. It helps them to carry whatever bags, shopping bags, tote bags with ease. by liberating their hands and blending with your outfits fashionably. So unlike this picture showing on the right-hand side, which is very ugly. So the market size for our product is pretty big because our product actually covers crossbody bags and wallet and bag carriers all together. I'll explain that later, but the total market size could come to $54 billion. And our competitors is pretty diverse. Comes from just conventional bag carriers like the first three on the first 3 rows. I mean, first 4 rows. Those are the conventional bag carriers, which are pretty ugly. They are some of them, most of them are not wearable, which takes one of your hand to hold them. And also some of our competitors comes from big brands like Peak Design, which have this crossbody bags. Kind of helps you just put the stuff on your bags into the the crossbody bags to do the job to replace your grocery bag. But that's limited to there's a volume limitation to that. So our MVP. So we have a already built a prototype, but this prototype is pretty basic. It achieved some basic function like built-in wallets, like a unibody hook for different size of bags. And it's also engineered to adjustable with one hand. So our next steps will be to first improve all the features, all the problems what we see from the first prototype, and then we're gonna send them. We're gonna produce the next version from Shenzhen in the factory. So everything, the craftsmanship, everything's much better, much reliable. And then we're gonna send it to user testing. We're looking to contact with some disability associates, because this project was originally for disabled people with only one arm. And we thought this could be a very big benefits for those people in terms of the functionality. And then we can push to see what's the potential that it can go for non-disabled people. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Can you go back to competitive grid?
Yeah.
I mean, we've discussed this, so it's nice to see like an actual competition that doesn't involve like super high luxury brands. I think you're getting better in sort of figuring it out now. I guess my biggest thing is I still wanted to sort of see your MVP get like tested. So, your user testing next session is going to be very crucial, because I think you're going to get a lot of feedback, especially because you're in fashion and people are going to have a lot of ideas. Oh.
Yeah.
Great job. Can you go back to your slide with the picture? So
yes.
This is kind of random, but 2 things. One is I want a clearer shot of your bag, because you look like you have a great sense of design, but this is, it's kind of like at an angle, like it's kind of tucked here. And the other thing is, I'm just curious, my brain goes to, why is he wearing a mask when he's by himself outdoors, right? And so, I get it if you're with somebody or whatever, but just so you're aware, my brain goes to like, is there a reason or a story for that? Like, are you sick and you're about to meet somebody or whatever? And that takes my focus off of the bag, so okay. Those are just 2 minor things with the marketing, but otherwise I love the colors, by the way, as well. So I'm excited to see this develop.
Great, thank you.
Great. So we have our new John. You got to tell us not only about your homework, but also your product, right?
Yeah.
So hi, I'm John. I am in interior design, and I will share my screen. Peter should probably be quite familiar with this, considering he saw this once before. Kumiko is my company name. It is also a product-based company. So here is, sorry, I'm just adjusting the zoom. To bring traditional Japanese design to modern everyday applications. So the company itself will have an assortment of different products, but I thought the first product for my company would essentially be a bento box, and so here's the problem statement essentially, which is that all current bento boxes are fit into one of 2 categories. either they're modern bento boxes or traditional. Modern bento boxes have great functional features. They have dividers. Sometimes they're modular, sometimes they're stackable. But they're visually quite unappealing, whereas traditional bento boxes are simple, elegant, and natural, but they sometimes lack functional capabilities of modern bento boxes. And so I wanted to create a bento box that essentially bridges the gap between traditional and modern ones, giving you the traditional craft look, but also the modern features of portion controls through customizable and modular dividers. So at the moment in 2021, the lunchbox market is at 10.5 billion and is projected to be at 16.676 billion at 2029. Apparently, there's a growing market in high school and colleges due to a larger population of students desiring a nutritious, hygienic, and economical meal. However, in North America is also a huge, rapidly growing market, mainly due to the huge working population, which shows that professionals with full-time jobs are also packing their own meals. So how is it unique? Well, our product, it's through product differentiation. So we have a Japanese traditionally styled box. However, it has modern modular portion control capabilities, which very little. So here's a basic competitor graph. So our product would be top right, where it's both modular and natural. So it's beautiful and still functional. And so, yes, of course, our first MVP would be a prototype of our first iteration of a bento box. And here's a competitive analysis. There's a lot of bento box companies out there, but they always tick only 3 out of 5 boxes, where they often always fall short on the customizable portion control and also being natural. It's either one or the other.
It's 2 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. Great job, John. I really, first of all, your slides are beautiful and you do a great job with the presentation. One thing I'm just gonna, as far as presentation goes, I'm very wary of words like all, always, never, like absolutes. And you used absolutes 3 different times in this presentation. All bento boxes are. That's a really bold statement, right? In your initial one. Like, so just beware. So you actually at the end corrected yourself. I don't know if you did this subconsciously or intentionally, but you said often, always, just now. So I think you picked up on it and you auto-corrected, but replace anytime you say, even if you think it's true, almost nothing is always or never, right? So take out absolutes and use like, too often or something like that.
Sure. Okay.
Peter.
I don't have anything because I've been watching him work on this for quite some time now. So he's already heard all my comments. So.
It looks beautiful though. Good job. And it's nice to have you part of the program, John. It's good to see you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I think we have time for one more before our speaker. Who wants to be the last one before?
Okay, that's great.
Let's do it.
Give me a second.
Wow.
And then we start. So basically it's Art of Honoring. This just the name right now. I'm looking forward for the next session. So it's a therapeutic mobile virtual space for pet owners in palliative care. And right now I'm focusing a little bit just me by myself, but I'm looking forward to be a service that is going to work with the vet. That's something that I want to make clear. Vet that are working with palliative care. So the business statement basically is that there's a high demand. I want to read everything, but there's a high demand right now on grow in the palliative care. So this means there's a lot of pet owners who are going through anticipatory grief without really know where to go or not acknowledge. So And there's also like a lot of friction between the pet owners and the veterinarian part, because of the vet is not his job to do the psychological part. He just treat the patient. So our goal is basically be that part where we give support, but also work with the vet for the vet work with the vet. So it's kind of very thinking of the market size. I'm not sure if I'm very good at that, but right now is growing. It's growing so much that I'm not sure about the numbers, but right now this is what I get. The American Veterinary Association report like 50% of household, and I think actually in the United States like 90%. I've read in another article, like they have pets in their homes. That means that there's people that gonna eventually might need support if they're going through this palliative care. And so basically it's a market size of 211,700. I'm not very good with number. And I'm looking maybe in the future to work with expanded to Latin America, since I also speak Spanish. But there's just an example of what I have found, like the pet market is going up, but also the mental health market is also going up. So it's just put it there. And the swap is basically the strength is a complete care and support for the pet owners. There's a convenience because it is mobile. I can go to your home, or it can be virtual. So I don't have to pay for rent sort of specific place. There's a wider audience. I don't need to work with only palliative care patients or palliative patient or clients with pets in that the spectrum. I can also work with clients who just want to create art to honor their art, the pets. There's a lack of exposure, complicated, interesting market. There's not a lot of research right there. Then there's a need for service for the veterinarians. The competitors are not. There's art
About
therapies.
2 minutes, by the way, just heads up.
Oh, that's it. And the mini body problem is like
Okay.
working right now in my thesis. So I'm already doing and working with them and observing the people.
Can you go back to your market size?
Just this one or the other one?
That one.
Okay.
There's an dying cat or need a mental health care, total market size. So the 211,000 number, is that pets that are gonna die this year? What is that?
Basically, the number of people that are going to palliative care. Yes.
That the pets are gonna pass away.
Mhm.
That seems low to me. I mean, I mean, that's interesting though. Okay. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think that this
I'm
has.
sorry. In New York City, this is a concentration
Oh,
market.
this is just New York City. Okay, it seems super low to me. I mean, the amount of the pet market's huge.
Right, you thought all of America. Yeah. I was gonna say the exact same thing. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think there's a total opportunity here. I think that the pet market, is a fantastic market. I know it very, very well. So just keep going, and we'll help you through all the other little bumps and bruises.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I want to give our time now that we have our featured speakers. Thank you all. We'll get to the rest of you after, but Peter, I'll leave it to you to do the introduction to these amazing guests.
All right. Hello. Hey guys. Nice to see you guys.
Hello, good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you guys too. It's Miami. Is it nice down there?
Pretty
I don't
sunny.
know what to say
Can't
about these
complain.
about Nico and Celine, except for they were looking for entrepreneurship at Pratt before Pratt offered any form of entrepreneurship. And when I met them in the first class I ever taught at Pratt, I said, "Hey, I really want to teach an entrepreneurship course." And both of them were like, "Please do it." Celine was like, "I will do anything to learn something more about entrepreneurship at this school." So they took every class I could offer. I think you took my class twice when I was like, "You don't need to take my class twice." And then they also signed up for the first version of this when it was called the Refinery before it became Ignition Lab. That was run by someone else. So They've had a lot of experience in starting businesses, building businesses, selling businesses, and they're building one now. So I don't really know what to say except you guys are awesome, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Thank you for this wonderful introduction. Yes, I think we were like both in a design school. It's a lot of things around design and details, and it wasn't enough of like, okay, how do you bring this to market? Like, how do you sell this? And when I saw Peter, I was like, like a cat holds onto a tree. I was like, Peter, teach us what you know. And it took us years. So I'm very excited to share some of however we can be helpful for all of you here.
Yeah,
what would be the
if we could have only one class, that would be Peter's class, definitely.
So I think to start, talking a little bit about what you guys are doing right now and how you built it. So actually, it's up to you. Either you can talk about how you ended up building where you're at now, which is doing fantastic, or you can talk about what you built now and then talk about how you got there. It's up to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd also love to hear your origin story, especially if I were a student like a lot of these participants, being like that you feel so far removed, like maybe learning about that you are in a similar position, is also really comforting and inspiring.
Totally. Maybe I can start with an introduction on like how we came up in both scenarios first with the luggage storage company and then with OneRoof. And then Celine maybe can take on how did we come up with OneRoof. So basically, the way we came up with our first startup and the second startup, I think there is no like one size fits all, like one formula that works in every case. But every time, like we try to solve a problem that we lived at that moment in our life. So at the first company that we built, which was a luggage storage marketplace, basically similar to Airbnb, but instead of staying in people's houses, the luggage and bags was staying in people's shops. And that was after one of our travels in Philly. Actually, we needed a place to store our bags after checking out of Airbnb, and there was none. And I assume most people have that problem where you're just stuck with the bags. And the first thing we did before building a product in both that case and the startup right now is to test it out by bootstrapping it, like with a very low budget. So we went ahead, we tested it out with a few shops. We saw we had a few bookings, we collected feedback. We saw that, okay, there is it's not a niche, it's actually a big market. And I saw like the slide that you did calculating the total number of pets that are gonna be in needs. And we did something similar also, like how many people travel or how many people live in multifamily buildings right now with OneRoof, which is a communication app for multifamily buildings and neighbors. And we saw it's a big market, it's a big problem. So we tested it with a MVP, and here we are.
I can maybe like backward it a little bit even more. Like we were students at Pratt. I think I can speak for the both of us. Like we think like we wanted to build something, but we had no time, no money, and no knowledge of how to do anything. And so that was like the starting point. And it's not like you go to this fancy business school where you have the network, they can just raise money, you gotta like really hustle through. And so I think even the first idea that we did was a Kickstarter campaign. And the first product you put out, like you can prototype, you can never put a product out before you put a prototype out. So then what's that prototype? And if it's a physical prototype, it's pretty much straightforward for all of you, assuming the audience I'm talking to here. And if it's like a tech prototype, or if it's like a business, like a marketplace, this kind of thing, then there's always a version. Before we launched OneRoof, and OneRoof is like a social network for neighbors in apartment buildings. And now it's used in 1,400 buildings. From 1 to 1,400, we came in a year. And the first one was in our building. And because we had no like skills, no tech, like we don't know how to code and such, we just did a Slack channel. Like we just put up a Slack channel and we slid papers literally under the doors, like very Pratt style. You do it, you write it, you really go at it. And I think this is the biggest advantage, because then you really get to know what people react to it, what works, what doesn't. And so you take that, and then what's the next version of that, how to evolve that. But that first step through the door, I think, was always the most important part. So with a Kickstarter, it was, just doing like a laminate wood piece and then making a video and just presenting it to the world. With the luggage storage, it was like, I literally like knocked door to door. I'm like, hey, I know you're selling like coffee here, but do you want to store luggage? And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, you know, travelers who come can like store their bags, but they can also buy coffee from you. There's nothing. We had no platform, no code. They're like, okay, I'll try this. So we took their number, and then we were like marketing that number in Google Maps as like luggage storage location, completely without their approval. And then they started getting customers, and they're like, wow, this works. We're like, great, that works. So then we took that and then found like engineering talent to actually build it out. There is always a version 1 of something that you can do. And so you start with that. And then today, like what OneRoof is, it was during the pandemic, like, yeah, we felt like we don't know our neighbors. We live in this 100+ unit building, as with a lot of others do in New York, yet nobody knows their neighbors. We've neglected that social circle in our life, I think, as a generation. And so we did like a Slack group and we said, hey neighbors, like, do you want to meet? Question mark, QR code, scan and join our chat. And they did, like we had half the building or something join the group. We met like on the rooftop, we did a happy hour, it was great. And then we built from there into what it is today. So yeah, maybe that's helpful. I don't know, background, like a mishmash of a lot of answers, but.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and just say, you know, you both went through the industrial design program at Pratt. So that was your background. Your background was in physical, technically physical good design, but product design, both digital and physical, kind of, you know, has similar things. You also went through the refinery program, which was this program, and you developed something that was both physical and digital on that as sort of a concept, right?
Yes, we did the chessmate, yes. So that project was like, we did a health chess set because we were like, all you need to play chess is one other person. So why doesn't everyone bring their healths? Why do you have to carry this big bulky thing? And it's not an attractive entertainment tool the way it is. It's super traditional. And we're like, okay, how can we modernize it? It started like that. And then you would use an app to meet the other half. And then just by this slogan, it sounded more like maybe it's a way to meet people through chess. And we like iterated on it, and we never actually built it, I think, because it was too complicated. Like the market wasn't big enough. Chess players that are young, that are also looking to find people, like you have to, I think, have a high ceiling in general. If you're going to invest your time and devote yourself to something, it should have a market that's going to worth it to build something out in, depending on the effort market ratio. And then coding an app, like now that we have an app, it's a native app, and we have like 4 engineers working on it full time, and we just make it like keep it from not crashing. So it's hard. So an app and the physical product that was like molded. I don't remember those terms much anymore, but it was like injection molded, I think. And it was like 12 pieces or something. It was like, okay, that was too much, but we learned a lot. And I remember the hardest thing out of that program in refinery was they told us, ask, I think 15 or 20 people who could be a user or something, and then fill out like what their feedback is. And I thought that was the scariest thing. Like it's easy to go behind your laptop and type in some plan, put some numbers, do your research. What's hard is actually talking to people that you think might use them, because you have this like fear of rejection. What if they don't care? And if they don't, it's good to know it before you invest a second more into what you're building. So then you can actually build something that they will care about sooner than later. So
Yeah.
that was my experience.
I think like I like what you said at the end there, because I think the first product that you get out there is, I think, meant to be the goal of the first product is to have a conversation, not to ship. And if your mindset is set to, okay, I'm launching, instead of thinking more MVP, think of like a product, like launching it, and think of like, okay, what kind of conversation can this make? And what can I learn from it? It allows your brain to be more open to receiving feedback and allowing the other person to give honest feedback on your product.
And we do that still. Like now we have 100,000 plus users on the app. We've raised like $3+ million. Like we have a team of 9 people. And still yesterday, I was trying to chase a user down to find out why they're still using WhatsApp instead of OneRoof in their building. And I was like asking and asking. So it's never like, we're just at the very beginning of this. So it's very important to, I think, always collect feedback on people who use and don't use. Those who don't use give maybe more, but like better feedback.
Yeah, also you'll have like buyers, like either you have buyers or you have a lot of users, but it's very important to have like either power users or super users, and try to keep that close, that community close, because you cannot talk to like thousands of people, but you can talk to a few dozens of people that are the top notch of your user base. And then you can actually, they will put the most time in giving feedback for your product. So that's what we had to do with the Super Neighbor program. And it's honestly like a game changer, rather than just trying to pick a random user out of 100,000. Like we have a few hundreds of super neighbors that we just know that because they benefit a lot from the product, so we also benefit a lot from their input. Yeah, that's been really useful.
So when you guys launched One Roof, as you said, it was the pandemic. You had sold Knock Knock City. It was Knock Knock City, or was it just Knock Knock? I can't remember.
Knock Knock City, yeah, it's because Knock Knock trademark we couldn't afford to buy, so we had to add city afterwards.
Hey, there you go. See, there you go. That's resourcefulness right there. So the fact is sometimes what you want is trademarked and you don't want to pay for it. So you just, pivot a little bit there. So you sell it, you guys are sitting around in Brooklyn, trapped in your building, and you decide, we should get to know our neighbors. You fill out these forms and slide them into people's doors. Talk about it was just you two at that time. Talk about that first 6 months or 8 months of building out One Roof, just you guys testing the idea, adding buildings. When did you decide to go to online, and then when did you decide to go to mobile?
So basically, we were first not even like I would say, like first we didn't even start building anything. Like we just literally cut, like we have a printer. So we cut some square papers with a QR code that we made online. And then we had a link to a type form that leads to a type form that, again, we found online. And then we used Slack. So basically, like people filled out the type form. Some of the questions were to better understand their interests. And then we created channels in Slack that match their interests, bundled them together, and just engage with them, and just to get a sense of, is this something that's sticky? Is this something that people come back? And also have fun. Like if during that phase you don't have fun, it would block the learning curve for sure, and the amount of learnings. So
when you're, I'm sorry, when you're doing this, just so that I understand, like if I'm a student and I'm listening to you, do you already have a sense of what the business model is going to be, or do you have a sense of the idea and you let that business model kind of evolve as you like do this market testing? Like, or how much of an idea about like how to monetize it and sustain it do you need to have to even do what you're talking about?
We still don't have a business model, by the way. Like we are pre-revenue, and when investors ask that question, we're like, we'll figure it out. Like we're doing this because it should exist. Like there has to be a way for neighbors to talk to each other, and there's not, and therefore we're building it. I think because we didn't spend too much time on like doing market sizing and such, just because of the nature of like urban living and major cities, it's just by default, it's a huge amount. I think there's like 100 plus million units, multifamily units in North America. And the UN projects that by 2050, 2/3 of the world population will move into urban areas. So we know that the future trajectory is towards vertical urbanization. And today, like you look up and you see all these buildings anyway, so then we didn't have to do much work to justify it. But yeah,
okay. You say that, but you still like, listen, my mom's part of a neighborhood group, in Denver, Colorado, where she let her neighbors complain about their garbage and this and that. Like you still had to deal, you're building a community, you're dealing with all these people. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of struggles to like balance your groups, deal with people that weren't getting along, keep your platform positive and progressive, and not like let anger, so like, can you talk about some of those steps through that growing process? I'm sure now you have better forms for it, but.
Yeah, and I would say like the nature of a hyperlocal community is like positive communities. Usually, like if you're in the same chat group, or you can create your own events with the people that live in the same building as you. You all share the same elevator. So it's not to people's personal interest to start arguments and all of that, like as if it was a neighborhood, because a neighborhood, you may or may not ever run into the person. But there's a natural, I would call it like the invisible community guidelines that people follow, where there's a common understanding that, we all share the same elevator and the same entrance. So we might as well get along. And that's what's happening so far.
So when was the point when you realized, hey, we're onto something here, we should make this maybe into a business? Like, because it was just an idea to test, and that test went well. And then there's a point where you go, well, let's keep growing it. And then how do you go about that?
Yes, and also I think when you say yes to something, you say no to other things. And I remember, like, as a student at Pratt, if I said yes to like a job opportunity, that meant no to the others. If I said yes to building out something, that said no to like someone else maybe looking to hire you. And that's a hard decision. So you have to know. And I think for us, like for Nico, it's different. I think, Nico, you should share your story with IBM, because he worked at IBM, like he was doing a full-time job paying the bills while like working on the side at the company. And that worked. Like it can work. I don't think you have to like drop everything fully, but you have to when you're serious about it. And I think you have to when you can make money from it, or you can raise money for it so that you're still paying the bills. The best thing is like you shouldn't worry about who's going to pay my bill or who's going to pay my rent while you're building something, because that stress, I think, adds like contrasts the productivity. But the moment you hit that barrier, I think is the right time to like drop it. Because if you're making enough revenue, that means the market is showing you good signs that what you're selling is probably needed. So that's always a good sign. Otherwise, when do you even like know that you should invest any time into something? Like for us, we learned that accelerator is a shortcut. They take equity, but there are a lot of accelerators out there. Like Y Combinator is like the super fancy one, but there's others too in New York City. So we applied, once we had the idea, and it's been maybe 2 months or 3 months that we had the Slack channel live, and we had to upgrade Slack. So we did pay, I don't know, maybe $99 or something, so we can get the analytics. We wanted to show that people are using this on a weekly case, that there is X amount of messages exchanged, and that led to one meeting IRL. So in the back of your mind, like, yes, you're doing this MVP, but not just fluff and air. You still want to calculate every result, because that's your deck. Like that goes in the deck that you're putting is what works, even if it's just someone else's product, And so I think when we decided to apply for accelerators, we showed the metrics from this experiment, and then we got rejected by, I think, 20, and then we got accepted into one. And so we took that, not like we had a choice, but we had to pretend like we had a choice, because also that market is very much like you need to look like you're in market and everyone wants you. It's very much, I think, similar to other aspects in life when you're trying to get through someone's door. And so we was like, yeah, like negotiate, pretend like you're negotiating. And then, yeah, we got the accelerator. We got some funding. It was $100,000, which was like the world for us at that stage, because when you have nothing, that's a lot of money. And then we built something from that. And then it become more legit, because you have money, you can hire a CTO, he can start developing, or he or she, for us, it was he can start developing the code. And that's when the opportunity presents itself, but you have to be, I think, very analytical about everything you
Totally.
do.
And I think a little emotional as well, because like there is 2 whys that I think you have to answer. One is the why that you have to know. One is the why that you tell the investors, like why you're doing this and why is this a big idea. And the other one is the why you'd ask yourself, like why am I willing to? Why is this a great idea? And why, no matter what happens, because there's tons of ups and there's tons of downs. Like why am I going to keep going? So these are 2 different whys that I think meet at the same point. So knowing both keeps you sort of like calibrated and ready to fight.
So, yeah, I mean, first of all, I think understanding your why of doing anything in entrepreneur, because there's days that just suck. Like for all the days of like celebrations and raising money and seeing milestones reached, the rest of it is just a slog. And like working with people you like and doing something that means something is really important. So, I think it's interesting because you guys both have similar backgrounds coming out of the industrial design program. I know that you went to ITP, right?
ITP was gonna go, but then I got a working visa, so I didn't need to go.
But IBM, you started building out like digital products, right?
Yes, exactly. Like I worked for web-based products, but worked for cloud and banking and insurance and the IBM training part of it.
So, I mean, I would say, you guys are great. You guys balance each other really well. How do you think that part of the business relationship of your business, of you each balancing each other and then having to bring in a CTO and like growing your team out? It's always like hard to give away equity or even bring people into the team because you don't know if they're going to align with your vision. And you guys have a very clear vision. So can you talk about how you grow the business a little bit, like steps you're taking, things that have worked, haven't worked, things like that?
I think your team is your business. Like you don't have a team, you don't have a business. It's that straightforward. And so team is the most important thing. And just so we share maybe more reality into this as well. So we raised like close to 1.5 million and we had some reputable investors. So TechCrunch launched our announcement. It was very nice and stuff. But then like this gave us 12-month runway. Runway means like how many months this money will take you before you die out, basically, unless you make revenue or you raise another round. So we had 12 months runway. And our goal was to start raising the next round, which was like going to be a seed or a Series A, depending on what we accomplish, around May of this year. And our runway, meaning our money in the bank, would last until October, so beginning of last month, so until last month. And in markets, in May, the markets fell. I don't know if you followed it as well, but like everything crashed. The venture market really stopped. They freaked out. And then they started only investing in either like B2B or post-revenue companies. So now you're here, like you have no money, no business plan. You have just users and you're building something that needs to exist in the world, but no one's like the interest rates and everything, the economy is downturn. So we couldn't raise money in May. We couldn't raise money in June. We couldn't raise money in July. We couldn't raise money in August. Guys, we had 2 months until we run out of money in the bank. And at this point, we have a team of 9 people that left whatever jobs they were doing because they believed in our mission and they worked day and night for it. So this is the hardest part. And what we decided is like, we have to cut down. So half of our budget was in marketing and half was on team headcount. We decided to cut down marketing to 0, like cold turkey 0. And what that meant was like 6 more months to keep the team. But if you don't have any user growth, which is what marketing is for, then that would be like a shot in the foot for investors. Then you're never going to raise money, right? But we said, you know what, before investors, before users, like our team is the most important. So we cut down that budget. And we had like the 6-month runway for the team. And then thank God, like last month, or in August, late August, September, we raised more and actually a lot more. So hopefully we'll announce that. And we survived like 2 more years now. We gained 2 more months, so 2 more years of runway. But team is so important, I would say.
Yeah, and one more thing to that, like the people that you bring on the team need to like be complementary to you for sure, especially at the beginning, like very complementary, especially at the first is the co-founder circle. So first you have to be complementary as a co-founders. Then you have to find people that are better than you to basically develop the app or design the app or whatnot. Like always hire better talent than you. And then what's very important as you hire people and as you scale is to be careful of the culture that you're building and the talent that you're hiring. Because then when you go for new talent, then that new talent looks at your team and then says, okay, I want to work with these people or I don't. Like, because the illusion of having money and being able to hire, like hiring has become a very competitive business. Like it's not enough to just have the budget. Like you also have to be a marketer. I know where to find them and how to find them, because the best talent already is occupied with really good jobs, which means they get paid really well, they have equity. So why should they live? So you have to come up with very creative marketing strategies to be able to attract that talent. And not only that, but then they have to be inspired to work with your team members. So they have to look up to them, and then your team members have to be okay with that new person being better than them, because you should always hire better talent progressively. So yeah, I think that's really important while hiring and trying to keep a cultural fit as well. I think Are, you have a question.
All right, yeah, you have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to ask, so you mentioned that you had 9 employees, right? And I'm assuming in the tech industry, especially like this type of thing, so much about it is marketing. So why are not the employees not doing marketing? Like, what are the employees doing if not marketing? At least some of them.
Yeah, so out of the 9 people, so Nico is he's the chief product, so he's designing the product and making sure that the product is being released the way it's designed and whatever is important is getting prioritized, etc. We have 3 engineers, so 4, like half the team is already on product, and then the other half we have 1 for operations, 1 for like support / marketing, but more support, and then there is head of community because we're building community. So we have head of community who's leading our Super Neighbor Club, which is like a brand ambassador club. And then I'm doing marketing really, but without budget, you can't do marketing, like, because it's very hard. I mean, you can do guerrilla techniques, but at the scale that we got, we couldn't just grow 20% month over month on 100,000 users without spending money. It became really, really hard. So the budget we cut was just to save that cost, and the team wouldn't be able to work without a budget, essentially, in that case.
Right.
But we still kept them.
Right. That's amazing. That's crazy that you guys held on to your employees, the importance of like people to you guys. And then, so what is the primary like marketing strategy? Is it like online social media? Like how do you guys go about that?
It's actually very old school. And again, this came because okay, so fundraising too early or too late is very important. And when you fundraise is also how much you fundraise. And I think at what age you are as an entrepreneur and how experienced you are is a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because if you struggle a little bit at the beginning to raise money, you learn a ton of organic ways or a ton of guerrilla ways to launch your product. So struggling is actually to your advantage, because then at some point you will receive money. And when you get the money, you will spend it in smarter ways. Like, for example, in the first startup, our budget was very small, like to bootstrap it. So we had to find organic ways to grow it. Paid was not going to be one. So the other one was SEO, organic SEO. So we learned, we read every guide, every book that there is to be read. And then we tried it, and that led us to expand to 14 markets, just purely on organic SEO. Had we raised money, we would not even learn anything about SEO. We would go straight to paid media. The unit of economics was really bad, meaning the money that we were making, the profit from a transaction was very low, and the retention was very low, like meaning how repetitive the orders are. Therefore, we would never be able to make the money for that we're spending, so we would fail. Because we didn't raise, we succeeded. And in this case now, had it been easier to raise money, maybe we would have went the digital route, digital media, but we decided to do physical mailers. So like actually going old school, like through mailing people in the mailbox, because we didn't want to go the centralized route, like meaning through the management, because we think the power of community is in people, not in community, not in management, like moderating conversations. So we went the neighbor route. So it's a community by neighbors for neighbors, because we send a mailer, people sign up, scanning a QR code, entering a 5-digit building code, and then entering their community. And then we get about 10 to 12% of a building within the first 2 weeks.
And we have 2 hands up, but just to...
Okay, go ahead, Celine.
Last thing is, I think fan base is important. So there's always going to be people that love your product, and you really want to make a team out of them as well. So we have a thing called Super Neighbors, and we have 350 Super Neighbors right now. We don't pay them, but they do things for us. Like they do events in their building. They post about one right and left. They get others to join the app. They get their neighbors to join the app. And it's only because they like the mission, and we are very honest with them. We're very collaborative, and we treat them like a team as well. So I think that's a way to do it as well, depending on what you're building. Like find your superstars that will really promote it for you.
All right, Finn, question?
Yes, hello. First of all, thank you both for being here. This has been really insightful. I was wondering, how do you make revenue? Is this like a subscription-based service, or do you guys have like a tip kind of thing going on?
We
I can
don't
tell
make
that
revenue.
you will be an investor very soon, because investors ask that every day. But yeah, we don't make revenue. The goal first before we monetize is to have a playbook for growth, grow like in many cities, have big market share, and then but at the same time do monetization experiments. So that when it's time, we open the monetization engine and we make money. But for now, the goal is growth, because without growth, there is no community. Without community, there is no long-term revenue. There's only short-term.
That said, I can read something if it's insightful. It's like a small thing. The investor, because we're about to close the round, we're like dealing with the legal stuff, but there was this one investor that wanted to like use their pro rata, meaning like they want to reinvest, blah, blah. They're like, anyway, so how are you going to make money? So here was my answer to the question. And that could be seen as a business model, maybe just a bit more verbal.
Okay.
So it's like, what's the future of OneRoof? What are you going to do after Series A? So I said, in short, that people who live together don't need to shop separately. OneRoof buying can be the future of commerce. OneRoof groceries, meals, utilities, services, where everyone orders together, where both neighbors and consumer companies win, and it's green. With increasing commercial activity built on top of our strong neighbor network, we will form hyper-local economies in urban areas. The UN projects, I dropped that to you, that 2/3 of the world's population will live in urban areas by 2050. We will gamify the system to both incentivize neighbors to engage more, to influence more, and to translate their activity points into commercial points. Having built a unique bridge between resident and consumer businesses, we unlock an incredible opportunity to own the hyper-local fintech infrastructure, a single payment instrument to facilitate the transactions and to create rewards out of them that bring people back to OneRoof. Our end goal is to own the full loop of hyper-local social and commercial ecosystem. So this was like our business model vision, and this is what we used from the beginning to raise money or to show the future, we think. But yeah, we don't make money right now, or we don't know exactly how.
Not yet.
But you have a ton of users.
Not yet. But what?
But you have a ton of users, which has value.
Yeah.
Yes, and our users at week 12, so at 6 months later, they're still, or week 12 is not 6 months, 3 months later, still half of them are active on the platforms. We have good retention, we have very high engagement, weekly use case. So because of those, we don't need to show revenue.
Just real quick before we get to the next question, you said a term that I just want to make sure that we explained. You said be sure to try monetization experiments. I just wanted like, do you have like an example of what that means?
Yeah, monetization experiment is, I'll give a little sentence before that. So basically, one of the reasons why most startups fail that first prioritize growth and then monetization is that they try to monetize too quick, and the monetization kills the engagement, kills the community. If it gets, sorry, I forgot to mention, if it gets productized, which means, let's say we think that group buying is the next big thing. And today we tell all of our engineering team, let's start building the software so that neighbors can group buy. If that's not the case, because that's based on an assumption, if that's not the case, then our community metrics will shudder. Like basically they will start decreasing, and that would just kill the app. So that's why we want to focus on running monetization experiments that are not productized or minimally productized, or to a small cohort of people productized, to be able to get some early learnings and to be able to see which one is more profitable, which one has actually also a growth aspect to it, not just the monetization aspect, but maybe like a hybrid role, and then go for that.
And have the data to back it up, right?
Yeah, exactly, totally.
All right, next question.
Yes. Firstly, I just want to say I just checked out your app and I love the interface. But this might be a silly question, but it's just like when me as a team have been like trying to develop an idea, our initial plan was to go through an app route, but we heard a lot of people constantly tell us like the app environment is so oversaturated that like people aren't really willing to download another additional app on their phone to use. So how did you overcome that obstacle? Do you think that was the idea that helped, or maybe the way you marketed it?
I think that's true and false. Like that's true. If you're putting one more, I don't know, dating app, maybe you're going to get a harder time people to download it, or maybe not because none of them exist that's well. But anyway, like it depends on what your concept is. For neighbor communication, there is none. Like there is Nextdoor at its best, which doesn't work in urban environments, and it's like for the boomers generation. So because there is no other product, we didn't have any problems getting people to download the app. So I think it's a bit of a conflict and argument, and it depends. Like what are you building, for example? And then yeah, you can either share, or if we don't have time, then you can maybe think about that.
Just give your elevator super fast.
No, so we wanted to create an app where we could collect a leftover surplus food from retail stores and divert it towards universities for students to buy it at a lower rate.
That's a really good pitch. You know, actually, the only thing I would give feedback on is I don't think you should say, I want to build an app that does that. You want to say, I want to get people to do this, that. And then the medium, whether it's an app or not, could depend. For that, maybe I don't think you need an app. Like a web will do it just fine, because chats and communication has to be under your fingers on a daily basis, every day. You need to have notifications when someone texts you. So if you want notifications, then you need an app. For example, that's one of the criteria. Yeah. But for a business that's more like a service / logistics / marketplace, I don't think you need an app to go. App is a very high maintenance thing to have.
Yeah, also almost like then now you have one battle to fight, which is like to prove that your concept works. And the other would be like trying to make sure there is no bugs in the app and that the app login works and all that. So, and then you'll start realizing that your focus is shifting more on making on solving a technical app rather than the big mission, which is the idea. And that can really derail you and take you off track very quick. So I think whether app or web, it's a tool. It's a tool to just house whatever it is that you're building. And once you prove what you're building, then you can say, okay, which house do I want to make it live under? Then it's your choice which one to do. But at that point, when you have the idea and when you have validated, you can raise money without even having an app or a website. So using that money, you can build the app or the website.
I have a question for you guys. Are you guys both on Android and iPhone?
Yes.
Yes. So there's a new invention called Flutter. It's a better version of native React Native. So it's by Google, and it puts it on both phones, and it's super simple code, and it's super advanced, and it's a new thing. So it's hard to hire talent for it, but yeah, it's a native app.
Yeah, and I was just curious because I know my buddy Caesar that did 1 second a day, which is a very successful app where you track 1 second. He pretty much said, I'm not going to Android because I don't have enough talent to design for all the different Android systems. I'm just going to be on Apple. My users are on Apple. They're mostly creative. I'm not going to waste my time dealing with Android problems. I'm just going to stay on one platform that is a very easy platform to develop for, and I'm going to iterate on that. So
totally. If your market is in the US, totally, like 90% of people are using iOS or more. But if you expand to Asia, then 80 to 90% or even more like are using Android. Yeah. So the games shift, but yeah, I totally agree. Like it's also like a market thing, right? If 90% of users are using it, like just go for what everybody's using, I guess.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there. Patterson, question.
But there is also one more thing. It's not just the iOS, Android. Now there is also desktop or mobile. So because there is desktop, mobile, Android, iOS. So it's like a cross. And Flutter, I think, kind of meets all of them, where you have a hybrid between iOS and Android. And then it's mobile first, like the Flutter language. But with minimal work, it can easily become a desktop app as well. So it's a very well-rounded language. It's not very developed language because it's a new language. So that's the only downside.
It's a framework.
But it's getting a lot of investment in that language. So it's growing very, very fast. And talent is growing very, very fast. So that's the catch, I guess.
Cool. Thank you. Madison?
Hi, Sidin. It's nice to see you again, and nice to meet you. I was one of those people who got a paper in my mailbox. So, and I loved using your app, so it's especially nice to see you.
That's amazing. That's so
nice to hear. Yes. So my question would be in regards to the growth strategy. Of course, in your case, it's a very undiscovered market, like you mentioned, and it seems like there are millions of opportunities. Of course, you can go state by state, but you can also turn it into a whole neighborhood app or etc. I'm just curious what the thought process is like when you talk about, of course, you're gonna, start making a profit of it, etc. But I'm curious how you come up with these and what is the strategy process like overall? What are the things you factor in?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a hard one too, because you have so many opportunities. Sometimes it's bad because it can go in so many ways. I think the best thing that, like, we've done a lot of mistakes, a lot of things. Like just yesterday, we kicked out 10,000 people by mistake because of a server fetching. But one thing we're doing well, I think, is keeping focus. Yeah, it was hard to explain to investors that mistake, but keeping focus, I think, is very, very important. So like we said, we're gonna do this in multifamily, like in high rises, 100+ units in New York City, and that's it. And we did that for just like 9 months. We just did that. So we decided, because you have to prove that you're good at something. You have to prove that you have a product market fit. Maybe you've heard this already. I don't know if this was part of like what's covered. But a product market fit is like the golden opportunity to bring revenue for you. And if not revenue, you can raise money, but ideally, I think it's better to have revenue. And so to catch the product market fit, it's more in the nuances and the details rather than spreading too thin. So we have still a lot of things. We have like elderly homes with one roof, like, hotels, hostels, like student dorms, and then we can launch in a zillion other new markets. We could be rolling out XYZ features, like gamify it or commercialize it, or we have so much, but we just decide to like do one thing and do it well. Because then it's easier to tell your team or yourself, like, I did it in New York, and from 0 users, now I have, I don't know, 100,000, for example. And I have this much attention and they're doing this, that, your KPIs, whatever you set them to be. Now I will replicate that in 20 more markets. When you say that, it's like that times 20. It's super easy math. And that math is probably bigger than if you were to say, in 20 markets, I got like 50 users each. Then I'm like, I don't even know if you can actually get more, if there's like more than 50 users worth of audience behind your product. So you really want to show what you can really do and not do it at scale in the beginning, I think. Like that's the focus.
Yes, and just to add to that, because there's so many things to do, and that's one thing I had to learn this time in the second startup. In the first one I didn't, but I learned it now, is documentation. Like anything, because you're gonna try a million things. It's so important that everything gets documented down, and there is meetings to like just go over the KPIs or whatnot with the team. Because if not, then looking back at what we did better or what should we revisit or what should we improve, or just to make a decision upon all the things that you tried, like it needs to be documented and tracked, which is something that I personally didn't do in the first startup, and tried not to do it at the beginning of this one, and realized it's just not gonna work, like especially as you scale and you bring more people. So we had to implement, and we're using Notion. Notion is a great tool to document a lot of, I don't know if you know it. Notion
Yes, that was gonna be my question.
Notion's great, yeah. I was gonna say, so KPIs stand for key performance indicators. There's sort of, we'll talk about this as we get closer to you guys figuring your roadmaps out and where you're headed for. But essentially, you're gonna establish what you consider your metric of success, and any startup does. And you're gonna tell that to investors and customers and whoever. Some's front facing, some's internal. But you need to meet those, because if you tell an investor, here's the performance indicators that are showing we're growing the way we're supposed to be growing, and you're not meeting those, they may walk away.
Yes, and that's actually how you can keep focused, to answer maybe again your question, but this, and like, if we have KPIs that sets, like we set that the most important 3 things for us to track is fill in the blank for each of your businesses. And then if you're meeting those, that means you're doing something right and you're focusing on the right things. If you're not meeting those, that means you're distracted and you're doing, like, working on the wrong things potentially. So then this can help you get a pulse check on whether your focus is on the right thing or not.
Thank you.
So the next step, and so you guys are the second speakers. Last year you were the first, and you were super motivational, and everyone was very fired up because I see, 2 young entrepreneurs that graduated from Pratt that are on Forbes 30 under 30, raising money and building businesses. And as a professor and a friend, I'm so proud of you guys. But the next step for all of these people as part of this is they have to go and start interviewing people. They have to go do that assignment. And it reminds me of a story, Nico.
I saw that giraffe coming in and out of the frame, and I wanted to tell you.
Yeah, so I had these in crowdfunding the other day. I got both. So these are the products they launched in my class, but Nico was developing this very interesting hanger that collapsed down so it could be better for storage. And I said, well, you got to go figure out if people actually want these because I'm not sure they're going to. So Nico, you want to tell a story about standing in the aisles of Bed Bath & Beyond?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I mean, I had this idea about like a foldable hanger, which makes it easier for people to like take off their clothes and put on their clothes and keep them organized while still saving space while traveling with the door hanger and so on. So I didn't know if there was a need for it. So I went to Bed Bath & Beyond. I went like this creepy guy at the hanger section. I was sitting there for an hour, 2 hours next to the hanger section with from the mahogany door hangers to the plastic ones. So I saw everything. I memorized that wall, what that looks like. And then I started asking people like, okay, like what are some of your pain points hanging your clothes? After getting to understand what their pain points are, then I showed them the foldable hanger. I'm like, okay, what do you think about this? But what was very important at those user interviews is that you don't give too much. Like it's better to give little. Like for example, you ask them some questions to understand the problem, then you give them the product. You don't say this is the solution. So you can just even say like, what do you think about this? And then because the more you talk about it, the more they will think it's yours and the amount of time you put into it. So then their answer is not going to be, it's maybe going to answer like something specific, but it's not going to be, but it's going to be what you want to hear versus it should be the other way around. So yeah, leaving it up to them and asking questions that don't lead to a yes or a no. I think because those just kill the feedback. Should be open-ended questions like, and then one answer that they give, like you should ask another question so they can deeper, like it's almost like therapy. You should ask questions to get to the root of the problem and what are you actually trying to solve, and let them tell you that this is a good product without them say. I hate words as good, great, perfect. Like I don't like these words. Like it's more like I want them to tell me at the end of the day, like, okay, now that you gave me this, now I understand what this solves. And I think it's like, I want them to say it rather than hear like, oh, yes, no, or, yeah. It was fun time.
You talked about this before also in interviewing people and like trying not to just, like trying to make it a conversation. You want to talk a little bit about, as you guys, I mean, both of you have gone out and done great consumer and like, so I'm about to send all these people out and say, go find your consumer, go figure out that empathy map, go figure out their pain points, come back with some interviews of what they're looking for. You know, what tips do you have for this cohort that's going to go out there and start trying to interview customers?
Exactly. Do we have to be as well-spoken and as extroverted as you seem to be, for example?
I was gonna make a comment on, oh yeah, go ahead, Nico.
No, it's because you said the word extrovert. I'm the biggest introvert you can imagine, but it's what's, of course, like this has helped me like be more extroverted. But one thing that I realized that works on people, I was gonna answer the question that somebody wrote there. Did you struggle to get people to talk to you? Actually, like everybody likes jokes. So like you don't have to be the best like talker, like public speaker, but everybody likes jokes. So as long as you find 1 or 2 jokes that you can make with a door hanger, like people will talk to you. Like you have to give something, and if you give a laugh in exchange for feedback, that's good enough.
I like that.
That is very
what
true.
Joke? Sorry, what is an example? I'm just so curious.
I don't remember what the joke was, but I really don't remember.
Pretty good stuff.
Like a joke could be, for example, we went to it was, I think, Climate Week in New York, like a couple of weeks ago. And I was invited as like a panel speaker at one of our investors events. And right before going out there, it's like a serious bunch of crowd. They're like venture capitalists. It's so intimidating. You know, you're sitting on this climate week. What I'm doing is not even like climate. You know, yes, we can have impact, but we don't even know exactly what we're talking about. And it was like a week notice. So anyway, we show up. I think showing up, by the way, is the biggest thing. Like you just got to show up. Like there's so many reasons why you shouldn't show up, just show up. And so anyway, we just showed up, and right before going in there, one of our, like my mentors, she was actually an editor at TechCrunch. So she has this like creative editorial brain. And she's like, just make people laugh. Like she whispered that, and then she set me off the stage. And now all I could think about was make people laugh, make people laugh. And what she said was, people have like a hard day at work and they're going there. They just really don't want to be more serious. And I think this is the same if you're catching people like on the streets, on the aisles, like wherever. It's your work, it's not their work. So they want to have fun. And they've been working, so you're their exit to fun. So for example, like then I opened up, like, who knows their neighbors? And everyone was like, these venture capitalists like raising awkwardly their hands, you know, and they look at each other. I'm like, who knows 2 neighbors? Who knows 3 neighbors? And then like 4 or 5 people in the crowd ended up knowing 5 neighbors. I'm like, great, you're all hired as a super neighbor. And then they like laughed. And this was like just because I had to make them laugh somehow. And like just say stuff that are like, you know, you might regret later, but it's like funny usually because it breaks that awkwardness. Yeah. So I think that's a very good advice to approach people. Yeah. My problem has been different. Like my problem, I'm an extrovert. It has been more like seeking validation. Like I don't want someone to tell me that my product is bad, but that's what you want to hear. Or like, I don't want to hear that it's not needed, or I think this is going to work, but I don't want to hear otherwise. Like that's been my problem. Like that's what kept me from going out to interview.
Can I as someone who has a training as a psychologist, make a comment that I've noticed is that you have a sense of humility when you have been describing things. You have the opposite of defensiveness, and it's very refreshing, you know, and I just wanted to point that out. And is that something you developed? Is that kind of tying into what you were just describing? Because it's very noticeable.
Thank you. I barely understood what you said. No, thank you.
Meaning like if someone asks you a question like, hey, how are you monetizing this? Someone might, a natural response might be like, well, we haven't yet, but we're going to. But instead you're like, we're still working on that. That's a good question. You diffuse it, and then I feel comfortable and I trust you even more because you're very open and non-defensive.
Thank you. It is, I think I was the opposite in the beginning when I went to get feedback from the market before building something. I was like, if you ask me like, how are you going to make money? I would try to convince you all the ways that this is great. And I think if you do this enough times, you realize like, you're not there to convince people. You're not there to like, make yourself heard. You're there to learn. And if you're there to learn, then you put on a student's hat, which is funny because you're all students, which is an advantage because you're wearing that hat on a daily basis. So really take advantage of that. Like when you talk to someone like a potential user, then be the student you are in the classroom and ask like, okay, you know, what can I learn from this person who knows nothing about my product, but like they have the need themselves, right? So they are the teacher. And maybe approaching that. I think I've done it enough times and now I kind of internalized that. So you're right, maybe I did work on it indirectly, but it's counterintuitive and I think it comes with practice. So it's a numbers game. I think if you want to get real feedback, like go out, pitch it to 100 people minimum, and then somewhere along the way, you'll feel like the real vibe.
That's beautiful. And also that openness to learn is also signaling to the person you're talking to that their input has value as well. That's
totally. And I think one more thing is like don't try to go for an A, go for a C instead. That's like, especially when public speaking or talking like a fireside chat, like if something makes you stress, or even going to Bed Bath and Beyond and asking people on the door, like don't put the pressure on yourself like to excel at it, because it never comes out how we expect, right? Like maybe you go there and you have the best day ever, or you go there and you have the worst day ever. But if you only have the worst day if you have set yourself to have an A. But if you set yourself to do a C, it's going to be an okay day or a great day. So it turns into positive, and it puts the weight off your shoulders because you already have a so much challenge that you have to solve, like explaining the idea and the project. So yeah, I think that was a very big suggestion. And it was from the same person that told Celine make a joke, like Alexia. Like, you want to talk about her?
Yeah, Alexia Bonatzos. I encourage everyone to look her up and read her stuff. Actually, you can follow her on Twitter. I'll drop her name. She was the editor of TechCrunch for 20 years, and she was the first to give like a highlight to Instagram and Airbnb and all that generation of like very successful tech companies. So yeah, we're lucky enough to have her as an advisor and as an investor first, but then she became more like a friend. But yeah, I think that's another point. Doing this journey alone is really hard. I'm very lucky that Nico and I are like we're very compatibly like building things because we have very like complementary way of thinking. But I don't know if you're solo founders or if you have this idea by yourselves, but I think finding a partner to do it with a co-founder is very valuable. And if you're going to go solo, then having an advisory board, and I don't want to make it sound official, like just finding a few people, advisors like that, like what you're building, they believe in you and they're willing to spend their time for you. And just those kind of key individuals made a huge difference for us.
Yeah,
from
I
day
want to just
one.
jump in there and say mentorship, used to be a very important part of everyone's growth. And it used to be like a thing, like you'd find mentors in whatever business you went into. You'd start a business, whether you're an employee, you'd have a mentor, whether they're your boss or your friend or someone. But like, I think at some point in the world, people stop seeking mentors out. And I think just when you said, my mentor told me this before I got on stage, that means that actually made more, because I'm like, you need that. You need someone to sort of help you understand things that you don't understand and give you sort of that push to go try something that you never would try, and then give you a place to sounding board things off of. So I think everyone who's in this, I have mentors, you guys have mentors, I'm mentors for people. So like, it's a very important give and take relationship.
Totally, yeah.
And if you never had one, like it's super awkward. Like, do I ask, do you want to be my mentor? Like, how do you have that conversation? So I think also like if you have this person in mind, yeah, like just ask them, because they will be more flattered than it will be maybe then more flattered that they are that you asked than you would expect. So
it's funny. I had a speaker in my class, my entrepreneurship class that you guys also spoke in last year for me. And she started a talent recruitment agency and it's doing incredibly well. And she was going through her biggest things. And she said, you need mentors. And that was the first question was, students said, where do you find mentors? Like, how do you do it? And she said, sometimes they're people that you never would expect. Sometimes they're people you reach out to and a relationship grows, but I think it's one of those tough things where like, people are like, go find a mentor. And you're like, where do I find one? But
yeah.
if you put yourself out there in the universe, it should come back.
Yes, and Twitter, tweet about it, and LinkedIn message people, like that helps universe bring it to you also. Like our first advisor in the first startup, we just like cold DM'd a link on LinkedIn, like this super high accomplished guy, and he replied. And so yeah, just put yourself out there in any means.
Yeah, totally. And like if I count like all the people that like we reached out that were like, oh my God, they're never gonna reply because they're like just like, even when we were smaller, like without even ever fundraising from anybody, like it's a numbers game after all. Like it's just that the numbers shift as you grow and as you become more experienced, they shift. So every 100 emails that you send out, you get 10 responses, but then you have to send 1,000 emails to get one response. It's just like you have to start somewhere, and then slowly the numbers fix themselves.
Yeah, ask, like we have the co-founder of Google Maps invest in us like last month. How the hell did we get connected to the co-founder of Google Maps? Like we were like at Pratt 6 years ago, how did this happen? And it's like, you just you ask people, like you ask the investor, you ask someone who said nice things about you, you met in a conference, who then introduced you to their friend happens to know this person, you ask this person, they happens to know, and then you can find your way like to the person that you're looking for. Like now we're kite surfers, we're trying to meet Richard Branson. So if any of you know anyone who may know him in any way, like introduce us, and that's how you ask.
Yeah, network equals net worth, right?
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
All right. I want to thank you guys. Awesome as usual. Everyone, let's round of applause. If anyone wants to reach out to you, I know you guys are busy. Is there a place they can reach out to you if they have questions?
Yeah, via email. I guess we can put the email on here for everybody.
Please do.
Can I also
Exactly.
ask, like, if I'm in a building, it's not a high rise, but it's 8 stories, like, would my building qualify for your
100 units and above, Carl. God, listen.
No, but we have super neighbors, which are, we give them the golden key to do whatever they want, no matter the size. So yes, you could become a super neighbor. I will drop in our chat. Shameless plug, guys.
Yeah, please plug away.
I want to be a super neighbor. That sounds awesome. Heck yeah.
Super.
You join the club, you get benefits, you get free sponsorships. We invite you to private dinners. It's where the New Yorkers want to be. I'm kidding. That's a pitch, but this is the link.
That's
so you can
Good pitch. Good pitch. All right. Well, next time you guys are in New York, let me take you out for drinks. I owe you guys. I appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much
we'll
for
see
having
you.
us.
You guys
Yeah.
are so inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you. It was
Thank
such
you.
a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. All right, guys, we're going to take a 5-minute bio break back at 7:10, and we're picking up with XX Crew RA. You're ready to go. Look at you. You got your hat on and everything.
Love it.
All right.
All right.
See you in
7:10.
5 minutes.
I've been trying to fix this RA. Don't know how to change it.
So if you go to your box and there's 3 little dots where it says mute, then there's 3 little dots, and at the bottom it says rename.
It doesn't let me. No, it doesn't. It for some reason it's not showing me that.
Oh, interesting.
It just says edit profile picture.
Yeah, well, no, so like if you see your picture and you kind of put your cursor over it,
Yeah.
and then does it say mute above it?
Yeah.
And then there's 3 little dots.
Yeah. It doesn't give me the option to switch my name.
Weird. All right.
You don't
All
have
right,
the
well,
rename
the floor is
option.
yours. So we are ready for you to pitch. Actually, before you start, as people are all coming back, let's make sure everyone's coming back in. Let's see some thumbs up and all that. I just want you guys all to I know there's a lot that was said there because they're deep. I think they're in that's either their Series A they're raising now, and Series A is an institutional round, which means, $3.5, $4 or $5 million, normally raised by fully accredited investors or institutional funding groups, which could be venture capital or banks or whatever. The early rounds of funding, and we'll talk more about this next, moving into the next half of this program after winter break. But we'll talk about funding rounds and how funding rounds work. But, if there's anything that was confusing and you're like, oh no, I was so overwhelmed or anything, feel free to shoot me a message or an email and say, hey, I was confused by this. And we will willingly clean things up. I don't want you guys to be like, I don't understand what KPIs were. I don't understand this and I mean, they've been doing this for a long time. 6 years is a long time, but they've been honestly entrepreneuring it for over 8 years because they've been started at Pratt. And I just want to make it clear that if there was things that you were overwhelmed by in any of that, it's normal because these are topics that are different, are not normal if you're not used to this world. So,
and also what I love about these, Peter, is just hearing how they, I loved hearing that piece, how she just did a 180 where at the beginning she was defensive, where she, and then suddenly developed that. So what you're seeing is years of just working at it and stuff. So you're not going to be a finished product. And I loved the C thing that Nico said. So there was so much stuff in there that was valuable. The other thing I wanted to say real quick, Peter, so that you're aware, at the end of this, it'd really help us out if we did a very quick 3-minute survey that Oz is gonna send everybody. And so what that does is it lets us know that you're learning something. If you have any extra things that we could help you guys when developing the program, let us know. And that helps us continue these kinds of initiatives. So I just wanted to plug that real quick. We'll do that at the very end. Okay.
Also, in the meantime, just real quick, also, I got this timer app for the meeting, so maybe we can test it out. I'll just set it up right now.
Yeah, I sent him a plugin link.
Yeah.
So it'll show on the screen. So you don't have to hold phones up.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
Thanks for that. No, yeah,
getting
it's definitely,
advanced.
it's more effective. Yeah, so.
I know I use it at the office sometimes when I'm sick of listening to my coworkers talk too long. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and I don't want to cut nobody off too. So this is good. This is much better. Yeah.
Peter, we're going to be having a meeting and I'm going to see a countdown all of a sudden. I'm like, all right, I'll get to the point.
Okay, on that note, not RA, but XX crew, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just on that point, when we had our thesis presentation, they had that timer, and it's so funny how I used to get so anxious because it's oh my God, you have 6 minutes, your whole entire life in 6 minutes. And now I was like, okay, he's putting a timer, it's away, we don't see it. And now I'm the guy, it's gonna be right there in my face, but it's fine, it's funny. It's funny. The world has a funny way. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So how do I? Okay, there you go. Okay, so I'll start with the mission. The mission is to encourage intersection between art and fashion. We would be a studio that seeks to create a product for creatives who want to collect and celebrate fashion. by playfully blending pieces into a collectible and an attainable price. So being in the nature that it is like multifaceted, it's going to be a bunch of different industries that are going to have to come together, and it'll just be in the execution of it. And also the reality is that it can be a home decor item. So we tap into that market. Mental health will be in like the messaging behind the sculpture and the piece. Collectibles is the general market, and then luxury apparel is where we'll draw like creative inspiration from. And then I just put a little bit of information. I did some research on the competitors and the consumers and the demographic that usually buy those pieces. So they're 16 to 40, LA, New York, and Tokyo. They're more urban spaces. They care for art, fashion, and pop culture. Being that they're collectibles, they're usually like a collectible item that people want to like collect and keep in their closet and whatever. So these are other artists. I don't really love to say competitors, and it's funny how you said that earlier. Because I think that all artists like cross collaborate, and that's what helps build hype. So these are all the other artists that have done things similar. I think what I noticed though in doing this creative experiment is that a lot of them, it helped reassure me on what I want to do. A lot of them have like a little bit of a dark sense, and I think art in general, like Cause is the first one is a little bit dreary, the X's and the skull and the iconography. So it made it important for me to add in this element of mental health and like a positive messaging with whatever we're doing. And I think that will help differentiate me from the other people that are in the market. So we're combining industries in a new way and we're being transparent with the messaging, which is what I just said. Strengths is the difference in that, the fresh, unique perspective, our team of creatives from a range of backgrounds. So we have a bunch of different people, being that it's going to be someone from fashion, somebody from all different places. We're going to have to be a range of backgrounds. Weaknesses, I think it's very hard. That's why I was asking them so much about exposure and how they deal with marketing, because I think that's going to be a big challenge for me. And that's really the bulk of the market. The
All
bulk
right,
of the
you're at 2 minutes. What's the MVP?
Oh, the MVP. So I broke it down to 3 things. So design. So our design and our iconography, marketing, which will be a plan on how to get it to people and people to see it. And then the actual product. So creating the first product and distributing it and manufacturing it.
Okay. I mean, this is right in my wheelhouse. I have friends who've done, designer, small brand designer toys and all that. So, I would, design and product development should be 1, and then marketing and should be 2. But really, what you don't have on here is sales. And if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. Carl?
Exactly. I know this is Peter. Especially the other thing I would add is, do you think that you'll have something physical that you can bring to the pitch so that we can actually see like a product, like by April 22nd?
I have one. It's behind me, but yeah.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Cool. Good job.
Thank you.
Next is G-U-U. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Are you ready? There you go.
Yeah, can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, well, it fluctuates now. Okay. Yep.
Okay. So our brand, our product is cool, and it's elegant and arts friendly lifestyle brand. And we are doing like create 100% sustainable compostable products that are beautifully designed with traditional minimal aesthetics and made entirely from Bacillium and sawdust biomaterial. And that's our logo design. By the way, haven't decided which one to choose yet. And for this market, I think the global sustainable home product market is growing like a steady, and expected to grow at a CAGR of 4.5% each year, and will be reach 3.2 billion by 2030. And for product, the key points, the keywords are sustainable, design style, lightweight, modular, and durability. And that's some our prototype. And we also have some like those small
Okay, so that's the MVP.
Yeah.
But so how does this? What is this going to be used in? I'm trying to understand that.
We're trying to make some like a small flower pot for.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is I love material science. I mean, it's a great place to be. It's patentable. You know, if you like Crocs' patent was one of the most amazing patents ever, because they essentially said like a Nerf football is a shoe and we're going to patent that, and they controlled that patent forever. That's straight material science. So like, I think there's something there, but I think like understanding how it can be made, how it can be mass produced, and then how that can be monetized is going to be a really important thing when you pitch this. Because if you're just like, look at this cool thing I made, that's awesome. But until I understand how it can be used in more of a mass production fashion, I'm just going to be like, it's, you know, even like the whole mycelium thing is great, but no one's growing their own lights. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say, Peter. You nailed it. So basically, like, you want to show like the conceptualization, like once what this can become, and that would be great. So you don't want to like hope that someone can imagine that raw material becoming that. So show us this beautiful flower pot and go like, hey, not only is this flower pot beautiful, but it's you can feel great about what it's made out of. Here's why, you know.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, like, we've had like one of the iterations of the Ignition Lab, someone won the Ignition Lab with you know, sugarcane. So it was like toys that were made from sugarcane that then they could bury as part of like a lesson in sustainability. So this definitely like has you know, this is a great idea. Just use that aspirational model. So excellent.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do to do. To do.
分享。Hello. Great. Okay, so we are just do after school. Have you ever considered developing some cool outdoor learning programs in your business? Does the education policy in China reformed and caused a big shock to your business? Do is here to help breaking the barriers between great arts and local industries and your business, helping promote your business efficiently at a low risk. Do is the best service supplier to a local educational business. We commit to develop efficient online merge offline learning programs with local industries to educational business, where primary school kids experience playful and meaningful childhood and local industrial culture. Our market size is very large and it's keep growing. There are over 4 million educational companies in Chinese market. The policy shocked the market last year and is a great opportunity for us actually, because it's a great time to introduce the Do products and service to them and help to promote the industry. So apart from our big client group, there are also huge amount primary school kids in China. That's our users. Our strengths include international background and global vision. We have design-oriented R&D process and products. Our mode is new. We are very innovative and creative. We have strong local network with the industries and local arts. We focus on experience and service design. And the weakness is quite limited because we are starting up. So we lack of marketing pillar and no education and tourism industry foundation, but we do have consultation team under this background. So the opportunity and
So you're at 2 minutes now. So let's move on to the MVP.
our MVP. Our MVP is a outdoor learning program package that are going to sell to our clients. And we're gonna test our MVP by doing a survey.
So great graphics. They're super nice. One tip for everybody, don't read off your slides. I can read way faster than you reading it to me. So just no matter what, whenever you're showing a slide, just sum up what's on it. Never read from it. So the only thing I can say about this is I don't know enough about the Chinese primary educational market to make any sort of accurate assumptions. There's a lot of kids and a lot of people.
Yes.
But I don't, so like all I can say is if you believe in it and the market is there, the market bears fruit. I think Nico and Celine said the capital opportunity within a market for profit, that's the key, right, Carl?
Yes.
Yeah. So the big thing is we're going to have, as Peter alluded to before, we're going to have an assignment where you actually market test. So remember when Nikos was talking about how he stood in Bed Bath & Beyond and used humor to engage people to give feedback. So I want to know, what is your version of this, especially if you're targeting the Chinese market? Like, have you thought yet, and it's okay if you haven't, but I want to put the idea in your head, how you're going to get feedback, because you're probably going to want to create some systems so that you can reach out to people that are in China. Have you thought about that yet?
Yes, we thought about that because we are remote in China right now. So the first thing we will do is publish a survey because we have two parties, the local industries and the business. We will do a survey with them, and we also plan to test the business model in New York because it's quite a new kind of startup track. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, the next step, we're going to learn a lot. So we'll figure it out from there.
Excellent. I love that you've already thought about that. Excellent.
All right, Art Hub.
Okay.
Art Hub, are you here?
Yeah, we are here.
Hi.
Sure. Nice. Okay. So hi, we are Art Hub and we are Jingyang and Max. So firstly is our mission. So our mission is to provide a service and business model that bridge the artistic expression and entertaining elements of cross-disciplinary and multimedia art. So here we did the SWOT analysis, and we found and we defined some strengths here and also the weakness. And here is here we made a macro target market, like the public who can afford it, and general art lovers and emerging artists, and also people who interested in cross-disciplinary art and technology. So what we want to emphasize here is to both focus on artistic expression. So we want to involve our emerging artists as or part of the target audience, and also emphasize our audience's experiences. So we expect that we can have 10,000 visitors a year for our diverse experiences, like artists from different film, installation art, or music industry. So here is a method that we can define our MVP. So we want to actually have more user research, find more demographic and geographic statistic support, And we will also define our user segmentation to find more opportunity to innovate, like have the innovation of our service. And we will have the focus group and persona building to help us comprehensively identify the user demands. And next we will have like—
Hold on, I'm gonna stop you because you're at 2 minutes. So for your MVP, user research and competitive analysis is not an MVP. Design, organize, model, that's it. But so the problem is that you're showing me a lot of stuff, but you're not really showing me what you're actually doing to make money. So I had to go back and look, and it said multimedia, digital, physical art, and event space. Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry about my voice. I'm sick. Yeah, we explained it in the last presentation, and
Yeah.
I see in the current slide, we are trying to show what are our next step. Our MVP, as I mentioned last presentation, will be an actual small scale event with our partnership and collaborations.
Okay. So that like you can say all these words, have everything on this slide, but I mean, I don't really know what you're telling me. So like literally saying like, you're gonna have to really squeeze this down. I think Nico and Celine said like, have one focus and target and like really squeeze it down to saying, how do we build an MVP where we have an event and we bring in these digital and physical art space and see what people come to it, right? That's essentially what you need to do. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, Carl.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I think you just want to, if there's a way that you can like have visuals, you know, like whether you've done it on a smaller scale, you took some photos of that, you show people having fun that's participating in it. So just from that marketing perspective, I'd love to have like something that I can actually visually see and then imagine what it's like and then appeals to me to want to join it. That would be awesome. So
yeah. All right, Aroma Studio.
Okay, let me share my screen. So hi, this is, you guys can see, right?
Yep.
This is Aroma Studio. And in short, our business statement is our lotion, candle, and perfume making kit provide natural and soothing ingredients and easy to follow instructions for a personalized aromatherapy experience, which helps city dwellers who want to relax and de-stress by taking a moment to slow down and immerse in a healing space and reboosting their health and glow from the inside out. So we changed a little bit from last time. We were imagining like a pop-up shop, but then we thought about maybe making a kit for people to like use it on the go and wherever. Will be like a approach that's like easier to start with. So our target market from our research, we think that we are entering a huge and profitable market. Based on the statistics, personal care market kind of takes up to about half of the revenue. And then customers, they generally prefer, a lot of them prefer organic market and eco-friendly products. And looking at other brands, and many have done similar things in like beauty and fragrances. And we want to emphasize to sell a moment of calm and bring in Eastern philosophy on mental health and creating this therapeutic and healing experience. So just quickly going over these graphs, we'll look at price. We'll want to be affordable and focus on health and wellness. And we also want to highlight the sustainable lifestyle and having a high level of customization. And then one thing we want to emphasize is the visual and marketing, because we feel like a lot of them kind of lacks and is kind of dry. And this way it attracts like more contemporary, like younger audience. And then for the MVP, we definitely want to build a product prototype, which are the making kits, and then packaging for brand identity, and then media content, including socials and websites. And that, yeah, that's it.
Cool. I want to add one more thing to your MVP. Someplace, so social media content and website is just sort of like, it's a given nowadays. Like, it's not like something that like you even build into it. And really social media marketing is, as Sean said last session, It's very hit or miss, and it takes a lot of effort and maybe not a lot of return. Likes don't equal sales. We'll leave it at that. I would much rather see prototype, packaging, and then some sort of like, whether you're selling at a market or a gift show or some small exposure where you're physically selling the thing, rather, unless you want to be full e-com, you know, maybe you want to be full e-com, but like, even if you want to be full e-com, sitting down at the Prospect Park Farmers Market and trying to sell your wares will teach you more in that day than you'll learn screwing around on e-com for a month. So, Carl?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I'm just wondering, like, what is your equivalent of the like standing in Bed Bath and Beyond and asking about stuff? Like, what are you picturing?
I think Bath and Body, I don't know if they offer a lot of customization, like make your own and emphasizing like a healing experience. And also my teammate and I, we think we want to bring in like an Eastern perspective on the healing journey. And I think that's like a different aesthetic, if that makes sense. I can do more
But how
research.
do you capture that first customer? So online is a very tough place to do it. So what I'm saying is like, how do you get your first sale? Like, you got to sell something or you're not in business.
Yeah, I guess we're still imagining like going out like physically, just
That's
like
great. No, that's great. That's what I want to see here. I want to see like a plan to be like, as I said, like you go walk through Prospect Park on a Saturday, there's people selling everything from, you know, hats to candles to something, but like they're there selling, they're trying to get my attention. So like there has to be a plan to like get out there, slide a paper under someone's door, set up a table, sell something.
And then just quick question so that I'm clear on it. Do you have right now like different aromatherapy products that you've self-made?
So we actually made just to add the team A, I'm Z. I just want to add that we're actually trying to make some like small samples. Also like to give it to people just to try out our products, and also I think that's another way to promote the sell, just to, you know, like free stuff, like everyone loves it. So that's pretty much our first step, I guess, introducing our brand to the audience.
That's great. I'm
Absolutely.
working actually with one of Peter's students from Peter's entrepreneurship class who created a shampoo. And so it's a similar kind of thing where she's giving out samples in exchange for testimonials that she can then use to promote it. So that's great.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of it. Just really, we're running out of time, but we'll keep moving. But look up, Pratt has a perfume class in continuing studies. Look it up. All right, Designers Collective.
Thank you.
Michael, are you here? Yes.
Hi, my name is Michael Ortiz. I wasn't here the last class, so I'm new. Sorry for that.
Cool.
Well, our business idea, it's called Designers Collaborative, and it comes from a personal belief that we think design is for everyone, and that's why we wanted to develop this platform that facilitates designer and client relations, where we recognize as designers and also the relationship with the client and its users, it's very complex. So we wanted to develop a system that in a way could facilitate a platform, that could facilitate these relationships. The market size, we are entering in the market size, the market of freelancing, which is currently a growing market, which has a main based workforce in the areas of arts and design, which might represent a great opportunity to develop a platform specially curated for designers and their workflows. In the comparative analysis, we compared against the main freelance platforms currently, and mainly we considered things that focuses on design related elements. For our MVP, we think our step should be to formalize the different structures and how this relationship between the designer and the client should be, and have a discussion and test it with current practitioner designers and our target market in order to understand if they think our structure could work for them and what can we improve. Thanks.
Very nice. So I see these, Michael, nice to meet you. Welcome to the program. I teach the entrepreneurship intro at Pratt. I teach crowdfunding at Pratt. I sit on this. I also work with a lot of other students. I see versions of this quite often because many students are trying to figure out how to monetize their skill set and everything else. You know, I've had some friends launch it for engineers and they've become very successful. And really understanding, if you don't have clients on there, it doesn't matter how many designers you're on there. And if the workflow isn't smooth, it makes it even more difficult. So I would just put, when you go out and do your customer interviews, it's like really understanding what what clients' pain points are with designers, and I know what they are, and what designers' pain points are with clients, and I definitely know what they are, and then how to bridge that gap.
All right.
So just so I'm understanding, this is like a consultancy that you're basically creating, right?
I didn't imagine it as a consultant. I thought of it as a freelance platform where the designer adopts the structure we develop for their relationship with the client.
Yeah, okay. I joined Designers Collective as an industrial designer. Clients go on Designers Collective looking for industrial designers. They see my work, they say, I want to work with him, and then Designers Collaborative deals with all the bullshit of like invoicing and stuff.
Okay, great. So a collaboration rather than consultation. That's a great distinction right there. Okay, awesome. Good job.
Nice job.
Thanks. That's Paula, the other partner.
Who's the other partner?
Paula.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
You too. Thank you.
Welcome, guys.
All right, tiramisu.
Yeah. Hi, I'm just sharing my screen.
So yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice play on words.
You're good to go. Are you talking? Are you there?
You might be on mute.
I'm not sure what happened there. I'm going to share the entire screen. Am I audible now?
There it is. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, no. There you go. Stay there. Yeah.
Hi, this is Team Tiramisu here. I'm Bhagya. We are streamlining the Pratt's MGP, that's metal, glass, plastic, recycling process. Our problem statement is currently that Pratt, we have talked with Pratt Sustainability Department and the facilities management. We understand that the commingling of in the recycling bins has been a major issue with institution, and the recycling rate has reduced by 90%. And by commingling, we mean there's all the trash is thrown in the one bin, and this is reducing their effectiveness of recycling initiatives. And also these are all high value products that are getting mixed up. Why have we chosen Pratt? We looked around the campus, both Manhattan and the Brooklyn campus, and we analyzed after talking with some experts and observing around that there's been a confusion with signage and lack of education among the students as well. And we have observed that the Pratt students and staff dispose all of the bins in one trash, which is leading to commingling, also single stream recycling of things, which later gets segregated by vendors and not at the source part. And we observed that there are small garbage and recycling bins in few of the areas, and many of them are not even distinguishable, some of them. We looked into our market size. We are planning that if we are doing the enclosed spaces like Pratt, and if we look into how we are going to expand later, we will be looking into educational institutes like school, colleges, and university, which expands to 2.5 million across all the 5 boroughs, which is 30% of the overall population. And currently we'll be starting off with the pilot project at Pratt, which consists of 6,000 students and staff, faculties, and members. Yeah. Our current competitors are some of the existing programs done by government, that is Zero Waste Schools by NYC, Campus to Zero Waste, and that's partnership with National Wildlife Federation, and Green Schools as well. They would be our some main prime competitors. Our steps to build an MVP is we are currently doing a primary research to understand the level of awareness among the students and faculties. Currently, we are at the stage, we have sent out Google Form surveys. We are planning to do a one-on-one interview starting next week. We have 112 responses till now. We'll be doing the analysis in the mid of November. Secondary research consists of like we need to check out all the competitors and.
Here's my question: are you planning to make money doing this, or is this an NGO?
No, we do plan to make money like profit out of this. Yeah.
How does this make money?
So we looked into some other competitors and how it's going on. It's gonna be either a consulting or a service or a product, which we could provide to colleges and schools. Instead of them doing it, we can help them in better recycling. It's going to be more of a consultation, but at the same time service, like having programs. Maybe these are some rough ideas that we've been thinking, having probably conducting programs.
I don't need you to define it to me. I need you to just have that in the front of your mind. If this is a program to make money, how does it make money? So just think about it.
Okay. Sure. Yes.
Carl, anything?
Nothing. That's done actually. This was
No,
the
I think
last
I was wondering the exact same thing. So yeah.
Perfect. All right. Mark making films.
Hi, I'm going to share my screen. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okie doke. So mine's a little different in that it's not a tangible kind of product you can hold in your hand, but it's something that you can visualize, something you can watch. So Mark Making Films, which is currently under Frost Martin Media LLC, is a documentary focused filmmaking production company. So why Make a Mark? So Make a Mark Films is essentially creating films that have real world impact, that inspire real world impact, that bridge the gap in our societal understanding and communication between, one another on a global scale. And we are doing this by having multiple film production companies and houses in different time zones, which work together and fuse together in one creative community, which works to create real documentary films which make a mark on moviegoers and people who own technology. The incline of people who have, or rather the decrease in people who have gone to movies over the last even 2 years has been massive. Most people are watching films on their TVs, their computers, their phones, their iPads, and it's on programs like Netflix and Amazon and HBO, which, HBO pays around $200,000 to acquire a documentary film. And so there's a huge profit there, which is very untapped in terms of documentary films. So other places like educational institutions, we are reaching out to entrepreneurs and architects of the world who want to actually, who would be inspired to, have real world impact because of the documentation of such subjects in these films. So who else is making a mark? So here are some independent film production companies which currently exist, which do focus more on documentarian pursuits, although there are not a lot that currently exist that solely focus on documentarian pursuits. And they're just kind of production houses which do a variety of film production services.
That's 2 minutes. Can you get to your MVP? I'm sorry.
So MVP would be, let me just move past this. So essentially through sponsorship, we would want to have a basic website which would have work examples as calling cards, and then independent film screening events, filmmaking workshops, and networking events, which would already kind of exist through places like Generation Hustle, Seed Brooklyn, Representation Project, Real Works, etc., which are several independent filmmaking and production companies and sponsors which I have interacted with personally, who would be willing to sponsor such events as this.
Okay. Carl, I'm going to leave this one to you because you know this market.
I was going to say, yeah, I love this idea. This is great. So one of the things I was going to ask you is like, is there proprietary involvement with the films, or like, how are you going to handle that portion of it? It sounds like you already know what you're doing somewhat. So like, are these what's your selling point for these films uniquely?
Yeah, so as you can see here in this graph, which I didn't have a chance to go over, but their documentary is an untapped genre of film. You know, the general like interest in documentary films is very low because there are so few that are made and produced on a high production scale. And so I look at that as more of an advantage than a disadvantage because there's such room for growth and opportunity there. And actually that people's general interest is expanding. And so to sell a documentary to HBO or Netflix is exponentially growing. And in terms of budget and in terms of gross income.
Great.
Nice.
One final thing I want to say is when your title, Mark Making Films, I literally pictured a guy named Mark who is like going out with a camera, just to let you know. And so I'm wondering what made you pick Mark Making Films instead of Impact Making Films?
Yeah, so Mark Making is under the same kind of pretense of literally going somewhere and changing, you know, a philosophy or an idea or you know, changing the circumstances of somebody and making a mark rather than making an impact, which might just be an experience, having some sort of tangible thing which says I was here and this is now what has occurred here because of that, right?
So, and you probably played with the idea of Mark Making Films rather than making Mark Films, or like you probably played with all sorts of orders and that kind of stuff, I imagine.
I would push this on to our next time because we have only 10 minutes left, Carl.
Great. No, thank you.
Yes, I'll think about that more. Thank you for
Great job.
We're going to do a whole branding exercise, so you're going to be able to push it. In
I love it.
Cafe Les Savoirs, Penny Fan.
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Great, looks good.
Thanks. My computer's running a bit slow. Is it okay for you guys?
It looks good right now.
You know, so this is a coffee house in the evening, Coffee Le Soir. And oops. The problem statement is that in an alcohol center and also often loud late night culture that we're in now, it affects those who desire a more comfortable night out situation to have nowhere to go. And I got that term from a research paper that I saw on JSTOR. And it basically means that it doesn't need to be a total sobriety, but with the main focus shifted to having a good time in a relaxing and more community building environment rather than, say, pressure to get drunk to have fun. And the impact of this is a lack of motivation to go out at night, maybe a fear of personal security, and like I said, the pressure to get drunk. And I think a successful solution would be to reopen and reuse closed coffee shops at night with agreements or contracts with them, of course, and to provide food, drinks, and this kind of atmospheric space with low stimulation activities. And then here are some competitors. It's either just kind of a normal coffee shop, or it's like a themed, maybe they're cats, they're books, and then Sip and Play is where you can book a reservation and go play board games. They also offer food and drinks. And this is the competition analysis. I think the main thing here is the opens at late night aspect, that it's unique to ours, and also basically a combination of activities and cafe. I mean, that concept has been established already, but all of those are open during the day and close at 7 p.m.
So what's your MVP?
And the MVP is to rent a space, preferably an existing coffee shop already, and open it at late night and kind of soft updated it instead of doing construction works and stuff, and invite people, do advertising, all that stuff, and see how people respond to it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yours is pretty straightforward. It's going to be figuring out if people actually want to let you use their space.
Right. And that
Hands down
will
the biggest question.
that will involve like knocking on doors, like
And that's what we're going to do
Barry
next.
was saying.
Hey, you get to be brave. Hey, I just want to say I think it's a great idea. I really love it. The only note that I would have is I would don't create an unnecessarily adversarial relationship to drinking, right? So you don't want to put down like drinking, because there's a little bit of like, I felt a little bit of passive aggressive, like, well, unlike drinking, unlike just getting drunk, we offer an environment, because you don't need to do that, because I think it sells itself. So you can say this is an alternative to, but you don't want to like make a value judgment in there, kind of, do you get what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I got that from like the worksheets. Well, we
Yeah.
made at the bottom,
Because I
it says
think-
like what's
This is
your
a great idea. That's the
All
only
right.
thing. Yeah, you get
We
it.
got to go. Bruce Zhang.
Hello. Hi. I don't have a team name yet because I haven't do the decision on the
Cool, lay it
on
on
the
us.
service I'm trying to offer. Let me just share my screen very fast. So the market research for art education. So my goal is trying to build this art community that serves the purpose for people who love art, that they have the choices to take all the different skills that they want to learn, and at the same time they will have the longer term of a studio space, and also they don't have to make the commitment of something like a MFA program. The art market of the art education in the US, the size of it in 2022 is 6.1 billion. And according to some studies, 3/4 of the adults in the US engages with arts through social media. Almost more than half of American adults create or perform art, including musical arts, and 17% of American adults somewhat have a sort of the art education by themselves, and 9.5 of them are actually taking art classes. And so this is a chart that I made. Some services I find like Masterclass, they only provide services online, and some of the art classes in New York, such as Painting Lounge or something, they are very short term, and Pratt and also some other art program have a very long time period to learn, and also they cost a lot of money. This is the competitor analysis of my company. Pretty much, basically, we're approachable, and we offer a lot of different classes. We have studios for them to use, mentorship opportunity for.
All right, you are at your 2 minutes. What's the MVP?
MVP is I will establish and design a short-term period art classes with with 2 different other artists in a smaller space, in a shorter period of time, and also with a survey. I will say like how many people wants to participate in this thing.
Cool, this makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this is like
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, launch an event, see if people show up.
And is this
Yes,
in
basically
person,
that's it.
remote, or both?
Pardon me?
Is this in person, remote, or both?
In person. This is
Okay.
definitely in person. Also, I think we will offer art history class. That will depends on how many person are interested.
Cool. All right, very nice. All right, now I have 2 minutes to present your homework.
No pressure.
Let
No
me
pressure.
how do I stop share? Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna go, hold on, give me 1 second. So I'm not on there. There's where I want to be. Okay, back to Zoom.
Stick with us, everybody. We want to make sure that you understand the assignment.
All right, so this will be emailed out to you guys. Essentially, what we're doing is we are doing customer validation. So we talked a lot about it throughout the class. I think that'll help you guys. So I always like to say my friend or my mom or my brother, this is a good idea, is not real customer validation, because people are always like, well, my mom loves it. I'm like, well, great, your mom's supposed to love it. So now we know what your MVP product is, your serviceable market. The next thing is figuring out who your customer is. And your customer, in your mind, your customer, you need to have an idea of who your customer is. And what we like to do a lot is what we call a customer profile and an empathy map. And this is the like, who is my customer? And you start asking yourself questions and you start drafting customer profiles. And that's like, Carl, he's in his 30s. He lives in Brooklyn. He likes to exercise. He enjoys outdoor sports. Would Carl like my product? I'm using Carl as an example here but like, you're going to create 3 fictional profiles of who you think your customer is, answering these kind of questions. What does my person see daily? What do they hear daily? And you don't have to answer every single one, but you're going to answer enough to craft these 3 fake profiles of human beings that they're going to stand out as who you go look for. So once you have your customer profiles, and they should all be different, it shouldn't be like, Michael, he's in his 30s. He lives in Brooklyn. He likes outdoor. It should be someone who's like Lisa, she's 78. She really enjoys health and wellness. Like, they should be drastically different people based on who you think your product's for. So I have some examples here and some great, things to look at how to write customer profiles. And then you're going to start customer testing, and you're going to start going out and finding who the customers are and asking them questions. I want you to interview at least 10 people, and I would really like you to do it in person. All I ever get now is Google data, Instagram polls, and like, it's great. Like, you can do that for a little bit of extra oomph, but talking to people in person opens it up to more of a conversation. Nico and Celine said it best. You want to have a conversation. You're not looking for answers. You're looking to understand what this person's pain point are and whether what you're creating is solving it. So you can see some of the things I have here. Keep it simple, stupid. Make sure you're not leading them. You want to have honest feedback. You want to have a conversation with them. And then you got to compile your data. And this is what you're going to come back to us with. I think it's on here. Blah, blah, blah. Would making this change alter my company's mission? Yeah, exactly. So we're going to send this out, I guess by this weekend or by Monday. And then there's also inside of here you can also just go to the assignments folder, which I think you're all added to. Inside of here is also like a very cute little empathy map template that I love, where you kind of like could like a sticky note on who these people are. So if you're having trouble visualizing it, maybe use this, and you can like kind of use this to walk through, what are their pains, what are their gains, what do they see, what do they feel. And the goal is for you guys to really figure out, here's my target customer. This is what I believe they exist as. And then you're gonna go interview those people. Hopefully it's like not just your friends. Hopefully it's friends of friends, or, look for 3rd, 4th, 5th party connections. And then get that data and like really come back. And then then what I always say is like, run it through a sieve and see what comes out the other side and say, is the data I got aligned with what I thought it was going to be, or is it not? And as Celine said, I was out there saying, I want you to tell me I'm right, or not that it's bad. And Carl said, now I hear you have this, what would you say, more empathetic approach to criticism?
Absolutely. Non-defensive. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that means, a real great strategy when you want anything from someone, if someone asks you a question that maybe triggers you, that makes you feel a little bit insecure because you feel like you're giving them a bad answer, assume positive intent. This is great advice for any relationship. If Peter, like right there, when he's like, hey, Carl, we have to get going. I know Peter, and I know that he's doing that because he cares about the class, and I don't take it personally. And that, you know what I mean? That's just an example that I'm using in real time. Do that when you're asking these questions, even if it's wrong, it works, right? So even if the person is trying to be a jerk, if you treat them, it's a cool trick. If you treat them with kindness and like they're not being a jerk, that's like a Zen trick. It's a judo trick that literally makes them like, oh, you know, this person's actually cool. What is this? Can we?
Are we doing humility in Zen class?
Yes. I teach positive psychology and all this kind of stuff. I actually did judo in college. So yeah, I use those principles. So it's no joke. And also I want to say, I love what Nico said when he said, expect to see. That takes the pressure off of you. And guess what? It's supposed to feel awkward. It is uncomfortable. You could be rejected and that's okay. That means you're being brave. Courage is not going up to someone and not giving a crap what they say. Courage is going up to someone, being a little bit insecure, being a little bit uncomfortable, afterwards going, that was kind of awkward, oh my God, and still doing it. That is courage. So this is awesome, and this is character developing, and I hope that motivates you in any way. And if you want to talk about how to do it, I love talking about this stuff. Email me, we'll make an appointment. I coach people on this kind of stuff all the time.
The other thing I want to say, just as part of this next assignment, which is sort of an important thing. If you Lean Startup's a great book. It's mostly about building digital products, but it talks so much about how they built these products. Their first company, they built all these products with these assumptions. They never talked to their customers, and then when they talked to their customers didn't want their product. And they were like, if we had just talked to our customers earlier, we would have been able to make our product so much better and been successful so much faster. So it's this really like clear thing of like, have expectations that they're going to be shattered. Like imagine you're giving your most favorite thing to a 2-year-old. They're probably going to break it and they're going to enjoy doing it, but you're going to learn a lot from it.
And it's not personal.
And it's definitely not personal. Yeah, we have one
any questions? Any questions about this assignment?
Hi, I had a question regarding this assignment. As you said, for our assignment that we had to do like in-person interviews and to get to know like how your products sell to them. How would we do it in terms of when we're giving services, when we're providing services? For example, for me, it's like I want to provide a visual effect production house.
Yeah, go target 10 of your customers, 10 people you'd want to sell your service to, and ask them if you could just have a quick call with them and ask them what they're looking for.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, like ask you a question. Yeah, so if I say to you, like, hey, I have this visual event going on, what would you ask me? So this is called empathy. This is what Peter was talking about with empathetic questions. The best thing to do is if you're not sure what to ask, reverse the roles. Imagine that the person is trying to sell you something. What would you want to hear? And then, you know, you can use that as prompts.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
And also like what their first company, which we kind of glossed over that they sold, was called Knock Knock City. And it was a luggage storage for people staying at Airbnbs. And when they came up with this idea, they didn't have an app or a website or anything. They literally went and convinced bodegas and shit to hold luggage for people, and then listed their own cell phone numbers, went and picked luggage up from people, and then stuck it in bodegas and was like available for it. So
it's amazing.
You know,
and the guy's super introverted. So just keep that in mind.
Nico's extremely introverted. Celine, on the other hand, she's out there. But you know, this is the biggest challenge I think for people is they don't want to hear their ideas are bad or get challenged in them. And essentially, this will save you so much more time in the future to go get this information now, compile it, and as Nico said, keeping your data. So,
and this is just a fun thing that I do when if you have an awkward encounter, that's a great story. Right. Yeah. So you can just tell that story to your friends or whatever. And sometimes those awkward stories just they're the best things to share socially. Just so keep that in mind.
And if you guys all know what trade shows are, if you don't, they're like large expo centers where people sit there and sell business, anything, product, whatever. And if you ever do a trade show with a company you're running, all you do is sit there for 8 hours a day saying the same thing over and over again to people walking by trying to sell them on whatever you're doing. And you get very good at pitching, and you also get direct feedback from people in the industry. And it's a great experience to learn to have that conversation. You can't do that in this case, but go try to find interesting places to find your customers and not just rely on being like, I'm going to create an Instagram poll. I'm going to create a Google sheet. So.
And once again, if it feels awkward, that's okay. It means
Probably learning. You'll probably learn something. So we'll be meeting again December, what is it, 6th?
I think it's
4th?
it's
Or
earlier. I
2nd?
think it's like
December
December 2nd. I think it's
Yeah.
2nd.
So you guys have a month. Go get them. Come back and tell me who your customers are.
And guys, do us a favor, fill out the survey. Oz, we already emailed everybody the survey, right?
Yep,
If you
yep.
guys fill that out, that helps us show that, you know, you're learning something, and then we can use that, and it benefits all of us. We're all in this together. And if you have questions, if you want to practice anything, please email me. You guys have my email because I'm always CC'd on those things, and we can set up appointments to go over that. And it's great seeing you all. I really love it.
Super
Yeah.
quick.
Madison, go
December
ahead.
2nd is a Friday.
Oh, so we said it
December
wrong.
1st.
December
December
1st.
1st. Yeah.
Thank you.
First?
Thank
Okay,
you so
thank
much
you.
for pointing that out so we could correct ourselves. December 1st. It's always a Thursday from 5 to 8.
Always a Thursday.
Okay, I
except
just
for the
wanted to
final.
make sure the dates
Except for
didn't
the final
change.
pitch, which is April 22nd on a Saturday, but that's way far away.
All right, guys. Thank you all very much.
You guys are
Thank
awesome.
you.
See you next time.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank
Take
you
care.
very
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see if anybody stays on, you know, like you have like the stragglers or whatever.
Or people that are just like out doing other things.
Let me stop the recording. So I press this and then I say